welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, including a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to my latest Patreon, which is Lots of Gravity, also Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Good morning, man.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everything?
Going good. I'm waiting for you to start up a conversation so I can finish my breakfast.
Well, if you're going to eat, who am I talking to? Have you thought that one out? That's funny. Yeah, go ahead and eat breakfast. I'll talk when someone gets on. Nathan, queuing up everything.
He said he's ready. He's got his coffee and everything, so he's in front. He must just be pushing buttons.
Yeah, he'll come back. Go ahead and eat breakfast. Hopefully you got that issue all fixed, whatever that issue was.
I don't know. Probably not.
That got you in. Good morning.
Been a sodding weekend on it.
I bet. I was thinking about you. I said, what's he going to do? I bet he's going to spend the whole weekend on it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, you tweaked a few things, so hopefully you won't stress out.
Yeah.
So is this going to be, did you even publish that show as long as it went? It's 1878, or is this going to be 1878?
No, that was fine. It still went out, didn't it? It was still a live show.
Well, I didn't check. I just wanted to know what to label today's show.
It's 9.
1879. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. So what about where we left off on those videos, the three that I said? You want to continue, start over, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we'll carry on from where we left off.
Okay. Do you remember?
No.
No. See, I just have to drag it out of you with good questions.
I don't know where.
Right,
I'm happy to carry on with that. If you're happy to carry on.
All right, let me repost it for you right now.
Perfect.
So
just post the first one.
They're all three together. They're all short, and you went a little ways into the Neil deGrasse one, which was the first one.
Right. I think we pretty much make it to the end. It was only about 3 minutes, wasn't it?
Let me see.
So it might be worth just moving on to the second one.
Well, no, he says a few things there. That was
so Einstein. You talk about Einstein.
Hold on.
You talk about Newton. Not.
It's worth a review. Just goes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Just wait till the show starts, though, because this will, and then I'll send you the next set, which was supposed to start today, but you never got to finish this set.
Hey, before we do that, I'm working on another video. It's
called
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say something. It's called the Flat Earth Curve Calculator. I was going to show where the math on the Earth Curve Calculator, where it's hijacked and where it's incorrectly interpreted. Because like that curve that you see on the bottom, those
Did
are a
not
bunch of
include
flat
that in our
planes.
calculation.
Sorry.
I was just saying that curve is a bunch of different flat planes. It's actually calculating the horizon on a flat plane. You know what I mean?
Oh, much like what Andrew Thomas Young said he did.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it is. Like, and you can see that arc function. The closer you get to the ground, it it's a non-linear function. So the closer you are to the ground, the more that's going to change. It's
So basically, you're talking about your depression angle, the gap between the two horizontals.
yeah, but it's actually the size of the plane. So like your horizontal line in that would be your where your eye is,
Right.
right? And the point where it connects, that curve connects with the horizontal would be like if you were sitting where you were looking at a hole, like you were in a hole in the ground and the ground was halfway up your eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you raise up, those are just flat planes that have been from each point on that line that's going up is another flat plane going out to another horizon. And it's following along with the Rayleigh criterion as it does that. So it's a bunch of flat planes that makes the globe.
Well, that's the same as the equatorial plane extending to the celestial sphere, and any stars that are below it can't be seen. A flat plane all the way out. That's basically the same concept.
Yeah, but it's just with the Earth curve calculator. Yeah.
No, I like it. I like it because see, they've always had to use the plane. You're standing on a boat 10 feet up and you're 6 foot high man yourself, say where your eyes are just a little less, but let's just say your eyes are 6 feet above the deck of the boat. You're 16 feet above the water line. And so now you're looking at the horizon, the apparent horizon changes with the weather, and you're going to have to do your dip calculation, which is really height of eye, to get your eyeballs on the surface, just like all the celestial navigation book says. There is no height of eye or dip correction if your eyeballs were on the ocean. But since they're 16 feet above it, you need to make this one subtraction. Well, what does the subtraction yield at the end? Your eyeballs, like you said, in the manhole cover with the ocean right there, one big long plane.
Yeah, it's not really an Earth curve calculator. It's more of a flat Earth horizon calculator. This is my point.
Right. The deck yields a certain distance based on weather and temperature of air. Sometimes you see really well, and sometimes you don't. But the point is, where the sky seems to meet the earth, that is the limitation, and it's against the deck itself. And you've got all that, as Nathan says about the brick. Everything starts because the deck is solid. The deck was going against. It's not like it's the sky wide open. Your angular resolution starts getting limited there, and everything goes crazy, and so you can't make those pixels out.
I want to add something really quick because I learned something else about this, and it was brought to my attention by Rayleigh Criterion. He's from Discord, our Discord, and he said there's something else. There's another factor. There's the factor of the water being a reflective surface, right? Because we both go on.
No, you're right.
And that reflective surface affects like the light getting to you. Are you following me? So there's like another factor why like well, besides the limiting thing, but I never thought about it. I never thought about that the water does reflect things, and that also kind of obstruct, or I don't know. And that the word obstruct is not right. You know what I'm saying? But that also
you
can
got
affect
both
visibility.
you and Tenth are deviating away from what John was trying to describe. So he's describing the mathematics describing reality as opposed to what reality gives you in terms of reflections of water, which is a perfectly valid point, Righteous. But I think what John's saying is the maths is describing how an extended plane works at various altitudes. they can describe that with the function that gives you a curve when you describe those differences. But each time you're drawing out a flat plane. Is that what you were saying, John?
Yeah, it's a bunch of different flat planes. The Earth curve calculator is actually a horizon flat Earth calculator, where the function is based on the angle to the horizon based on altitude, not the distance.
I see.
It's exactly what they show in the pictures. Good one. Can't wait to see it.
But what John's saying is it's more nuanced than just claiming it's the Rayleigh criterion. It's based on the Rayleigh criterion, but that's not what the extrapolative function does when you're describing each individual flat plane that's drawn out before you at a particular altitude in the maths. So that's a more subtle nuance about how the curve calculator is working. I like it, John. I'm looking forward to your video. Is extrapolative a word?
It's an extra word.
Yeah, good stuff. Can't wait to see it. He's dropped, but I'm sure he'll
Yeah.
be back.
No, yeah, it's good. Well, you've seen all the pictures, and he's back now. So we'll let him carry on. You back, John? Well, it's quiet.
Yeah, he's fighting to find a mute button somewhere or something.
I hit the speaker button on my phone. I'm sorry about that.
That's
I
all right.
missed all of that. I kept on dropping and rejoining like that would fix it. My bad.
That's all good.
Nathan was just giving a summary of what you were saying and said they can't wait until your video is out.
Yeah, I wasn't going to use the stuffed animals and be all silly with it this time.
No, don't break it down in a dumb it down though. You know, while I can summarise verbatim what you've just said because I can listen, it doesn't mean I understand it. You know, I get what you've described though, and it's intriguing. So yeah, I would prefer if it was a. It couldn't get much more concise than with your teddies though. I mean, that was pretty concise. You've got to be honest. That was to be able to put it in that context, it's got to be pretty concise. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind either way, but I'm just saying if it's as concise as that, then hell yeah, put the teddies in.
It was concise, but the ballers found it unbearable.
Yeah, the two responses I got to that video, like I kept on laughing about. One is none of them claimed that I couldn't do the math. It was either they claimed that I was using the principles incorrectly, which I agreed to, or they were saying that I just proved my kitchen was spherical.
I mean, you don't have to dress it up. You don't have to go on like a big stage and do a TED talk or anything. You just have to, keep it nice and concise.
Well, I was thinking about cutting out circles with cardboard and stacking it into a globe, with smaller circles as they get bigger, and actually demonstrating it in 3D, what it's actually going on.
Yeah, that sounds good. Or appeal to somebody who's good with CAD in our community, and there are plenty. I don't have any names to give you, but I'm sure there are plenty. And get them to do it for you.
Rob Durham will do it, probably.
You could probably bosh it out in about 3 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, forget the cardboard.
I mean, I could do it on a draw program, but it wouldn't be very accurate. It wouldn't look very good. And yeah, I could probably bosh it out in 3 minutes too. But what you're saying is something physical that you can film on camera. Well, if you've just got a screenshot of Rob Durham in a CAD program giving it you in 3-dimensional artwork with stacked up layers of flat planes, then that's ideal, isn't it?
Well, I was wanting something I could, how they love their models. I was wanting a model I could just actually pick up and move around. But they really like that.
Yeah, I like that too. So long as the concept's right. It's like if you take it to extremes, when you've got Dell beyond the imaginary curve pouring water onto a football, the football was all deflated and malformed. Did it matter? Did it matter that it was out in his garden and it was all, rough English garden or Scottish garden? No, it didn't matter. It's just like his point is all that matters. If you've got some visual aid, it doesn't matter how crappy. In that case, a really knackered up old football. Your point's still easily made, right? Don't go to those extremes. I mean, don't intentionally make it completely crap. Not that Dell's example was completely crap, but it was pretty crap. But the point he was making was perfectly sound. So it doesn't matter how crap the visual example that goes along it with is to many extents, if that makes sense.
Well, they're all going to, John's going to do it, but it's all going to be 90s anyway. This is like the whole idea is you got to subtract from 90. So at whatever latitude he's going to do his model is just going to be a 90.
Afternoon, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Adam.
Hello.
You had a good weekend?
Not bad, mate. Not bad, you?
It was alright. I watched things happen around me while I sat in front of stress tests. It was fun. I got to eat a scone with strawberries and cream. It was nice.
That'd be
Homemade.
nice.
And then because there was a lot of flour knocking around, we'd had homemade pizza, which is always a treat.
Oh, one of my favourites, that.
Yeah, it was great.
Especially when the kids are little. Not
Yeah.
so much now. They have nothing to do with the prep. They don't help you top it anymore. They just come down and eat it all. But yeah,
Yeah, so there
enjoy
was
that with the
generally
boys.
an explosion of flour in the kitchen for the majority of the weekend, which is it's just a nice atmosphere when it's like that. You know, it's very homely
Yeah.
and there's lots of baking going on. Smells nice too.
Mm. What we got today, Neil. I'm getting feedback there. I'm not sure if that's off.
I'm gonna go on mute and see what happens.
Don't think it was you. Or maybe it is.
I'm gonna drop and rejoin.
No, it's fine. Everything's fine. I think it was just a bit of feedback. Don't worry.
Yeah, I heard it too, and I went on. Then I stopped when I went on mute, so I thought it was me. No, they need the equatorial plane. They need planes. They can't get their 90 without planes. All their pictures. See, I'm getting feedback again. What's that
There's
from?
somebody else. There's somebody with the line open somewhere else. You
Okay.
righteous.
Maybe I'll just mute just to be safe.
If Righteous
So
was
you know, in
there,
the,
could I just do some back office stuff for a sec?
yeah, go ahead.
No, there it is again. There's that feedback. Oh god damn. Yeah, I'll track that down. It is definitely coming through my line though, by the looks of things.
Adam.
Yeah. So quick
Just feedback,
question,
Nathan.
Nathan. Righteous was asking us, and the guys just want a little bit of graphics work doing. What image would you want of yourself? We've got that old logo from Gadget Show. That we've got Flat Earth debate. The thing I was thinking, Righteous, is if you're keeping the title Science versus Pseudoscience, and then you want both Huey and Nathan in there, it's going to look like one of them science and one of them pseudoscience. But the question to you is, have you got any preferred images?
Go on.
I was just saying to Nathan, has he got any preferred images that he'd like?
I'm tracking down. I wasn't paying attention. I'm now just looking for a feedback issue. Sorry, you wanted me to pay attention. Start again, and I'll just ignore the feedback for a second.
You're all right. Righteous asked me to do some graphics for the new Science Pseudoscience using QEs and yours. Have you got any preferred graphics other than what's on screen?
No.
Cool. It's because you're young in that picture, that's why.
Yeah, cheeky sod. What are you saying? You want a picture with a bit less hair?
Oh yeah, well that's a that's the risk as we age, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Adam, are you saying someone might start calling him Nathan Pseudoscience Oakley?
Do you understand the point? If you're going to have science versus pseudoscience, and then the graphics you want is a picture of QE and a picture of Nathan in there, you're kind of having that kind of 50-50 split screen looking things, and it's going to be like one's one and one's the other sort of. So I'm not.
Well, maybe we can change the name of the server then. What else could we change it to?
All sorts. That might be better if that's the imagery you want. That was the only thing I've thought so far, Righteous. I don't know what your thoughts on that. You might go, no, nonsense.
Yeah,
That's fine.
because I do want something that represents both Nathan and QE, right? And that way, as the server is advertised, right, it's more recognizable because, you know, Nathan and QE are like the mainstays of this server, right? And people come here for that. So basically,
Okay.
just more brand recognition, let's say, right?
What about if you had Nathan and QE to the left, and then you had a VS, and then two completely nonsense pseudoscientists, Neil deGrasse Tyson or someone else or something, or Witsit gets it, somebody else. So it would be science versus pseudoscience.
No,
I
I don't want anybody within the community like labeled as pseudoscience.
Well, whoever's to the right then will be called pseudoscience, whether it's QE or Nathan.
I just got a hello from Just Bill. There. Oh, I've kept the line closed. One more time.
Good morning. Good morning. Flying stinging lizards. Flying stinging lizards.
I think that's where my issue lies. That's a setting that hasn't taken. Okay, thank you, Just Bill. I don't know if I should change this now that we're running and recording, Adam, but somehow one of my lines has got crossed with Element. It's working though. Let's just check one more thing. No, they won't hear this.
So let's do the math and ask, where must there be a planet of...
Yeah, they won't hear that in Element now. Why has that happened? Okay, talk amongst yourselves. I might sort it out. Might wait till we're finished. I'll just decide before I do anything.
Right.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Tent. I think we should, for today's show, for the reaction video, I think we should do last night's flat side versus Witsit. Did you hear about that?
Is he still here?
You asking me? I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I'll try once more. Please, just for a minute, can you talk amongst yourselves while I try and figure out technical difficulties? Thank you.
Can you hear me, Tent?
Yeah, I could hear you. Yeah, that's fine. We were queuing up to do the one from last Friday, but we can put that on hold if you like. If it's up to Nathan.
Well, I don't mind. You could do it in the after show even, and just use the other ones for the live shows. It was funny. Witsit threatened to excommunicate all of us from Flat Earth.
I've only just started. Sorry, I've just on a call. Is that what you're talking about? I've just started to watch a bit this morning where we're arguing over radio waves or microwaves. I've only got that far, but we're getting excommunicated.
I didn't know we were communicated in the first place.
I don't know. Excommunicate your emissary. How dare you?
I didn't know we were in a position of being communicated so that we can be excommunicated.
The guy's ego is completely off the chart. Because Flatside was reviewing a debate that Witsit did with another guy against these two ballers, and he was reviewing just how bad it was. And of course, Witsit eventually had to come in. And Witsit has changed all these claims concerning dielectric acceleration. He tried to claim at one point that he wasn't claiming a downward bias. Then later on, he was trying to claim a downward bias. Do you know what I mean? He's after changing these claims around, the more and more they've been destroyed. He was claiming that bumblebees use electrostatics to fly, I showed how they didn't. It was got to do with the lift effect and the muscles of their chest and their back and their shoulders. And now its pollen attaches itself to bumblebees due to electrostatics. It's like, who gives a who gives it? I'm like, you know what I mean? If you go back to when he first came on the Nathan show, and then when he went on the second time, and then now this, the claims. I go back to his original time I had a debate with him, and use the second time I was talking to him, and those other shows and this show. I mean, what is the guy claiming at this stage?
Sorry, just 1 sec. Can I just get a hello from Just Bill again? Strange.
Hey, mic check, hot
Why
mic.
the hell is it doing that? I've told Element to go through a particular virtual audio cable, and it isn't. So I've gone into the settings, and it says, yeah, I'm using virtual audio cable B, and it's not. It's coming through the Skype PC line. That's bizarre. Okay, I don't know why Element is doing that, but it is, so I'm just going to have to deal with it. I have attempted to change it to stop the feedback in G+. I can't do anything about it until I restart the computer. I'm not going to do that. But for some reason, Element doesn't want to be assigned a line that I've assigned it in its own software, in Element itself, that is. So maybe I should
Just
restart
try
Element.
mic discipline and keep it down for you.
Nothing you do, it'll be random. So not a great deal you can do about it. You just have to deal with it, unfortunately, for today.
Sometimes it's just a restart once you do it, right?
I'm thinking about restarting Element. Just stay there where you are, Just Bill. Yeah, I'll restart Element. Hopefully that'll resolve it. We'll see.
Can we talk among ourselves?
Can. Please do.
Okay. Brian.
Kent, are you about later on today? No, after Nathan
Hey,
buggers
Kent.
off, or are you busy?
It depends. Let me get this into Brian before the show starts. So he says, oh my gosh, where do I start? So I was there when you did that debate with Sid, and we all commented on it. Are you saying he's changing his main point because after doing various talks on the subject, realized it wasn't going to hold, and so he modifies it like the bumblebee?
Lost Brian now.
That's some great talking amongst yourselves, guys.
We were. We're waiting for Brian to get back.
Has he gone Tesco's again?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Yeah. I touched the screen and it didn't take it off mute. Yeah, he's changing his claims around. Like, if you go through that progression from when I first was debating him on QEs to him being on Nathan's twice to me being on his show for that conversation thing, and now on to Flatside show. Like, the claims have changed completely all through that. I don't know what he's claiming anymore. He's trying to claim because it's officially claimed that all matter is held together or with electrostatics. He's trying to hold on to that now, that somehow validates some crazy nonsense he has. And he's still using the Van de Graaff generator. I couldn't believe it. Now, I don't think Flatside watched my video or listened to Adam about that because, I mean, he actually says it makes things just float. He said, like in the moment, I don't think Flatside caught on to it. It's like, well, it's not changing some dodgy polarity, then, is it?
We need chocolate for that bit. It just makes chocolate laugh, doesn't it? That what you mean? Your particle accelerator?
Yeah. But he's denying particles and he's denying all these things. Like, he's completely denying all that stuff. He's denying all the stuff that is based around electrostatics and claiming electrostatics. That's the best way I can, he's denying, electrons.
I'm really sorry, Brian. Just Bill, can you just say a quick hello?
Hello, flying stinging lizards.
Son of a bitch. Okay, it's still coming through the same bloody line. Doesn't want to respond to my changing its audio settings. Okay, thank you. I'm going to give up at this point, so I'll join in the conversation.
All right, so basically, now they have the power to excommunicate us.
Yeah, he got at one point. You'll hear it if you listen to it. Now I didn't listen intently because I was doing something, but I was hearing the nonsense. I didn't hear every argument that happened between him and Flatside, but I was hearing what kept standing out to me was his bad attitude, his arrogance, his changing of his because at one it was incoherent, incoherent dielectric acceleration, incoherent acceleration. Because I couldn't. What claim is this guy making? He was latching on to stupid stuff, and all he was telling Flatside was he started bringing up that Flatside has hardly no subscribers and no what would you get here, 60 or 80 people watching. He said this must be the most watched show ever, the one I'm on. Do you know what I mean? Attacking his subscriber base, which is consensus. And then he started, what else did he attack? Oh, he attacked, there was some other stupid thing he did, about some real arrogant thing. It's like, what are you saying? Like, I kept on telling Flatside you wouldn't understand, as opposed to just answering the questions Flatside asked.
What kind of person goes on someone's shows and says, because I'm here, this is the most watched show you'll ever have?
Well, that's kind of what he was trying to say. You know what I mean? It's just like he was trying to put himself and Jaron up in the air because they have so many subscribers. Now, Witcher doesn't have loads of subscribers, a couple of thousand. He doesn't have loads and loads, like. Maybe he has a good few more now, but I mean, he's getting promoted by Jaron and Glowbusters, so they have loads of subscribers.
Look, they're making it. They're making it to other YouTube channels talking about flat Earth and stuff, and so they're picking up subscribers by being guests on other shows. Yeah, so they're making the rounds to pick up subscribers. That's fine. That's anyone could do that, and best wishes for them. But at the same time, why do you come on someone else's show and say stuff like that, and then to say I'm going to excommunicate you? If he actually said that, it's like he's put himself in the position of hierarchy in this topic, and you guys over there, we're going to excommunicate you. It's like, who gives you the right to talk like that?
Even further than that, using his line of reasoning, right, which is fallacious, he should have never left the globe.
Yeah, Simon Dan has to be correct because he's a lot more subscribers than Witsit. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Witsit's wrong when it comes to Simon Dan, and Witsit admits it because of what he said to Flatside.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's like, the worst thing was that Flatside started kind of defending, which could be probably proud of his own show. He started defending his numbers and said, "No, I had more numbers than another." Well, I would have said, I don't give a damn. Like, you know what I mean? Listen, lad, I don't give a damn about the number of subscribers. That answer the question. You know what I mean? I don't care if I have one subscriber or no views. Answer the question. That's all that matters to me. Not that. No, so it was just nonsense. And you don't understand. He must have told Flatside you don't understand or you wouldn't understand. Which is an ad hom. I don't know how many times. Every second time he had something to say, he was telling Flatside you wouldn't understand.
Well, he's the professor that entered the room, self-proclaimed professor, entered the room and tried to correct everyone.
He started saying that we're all pseudoscience over here, and he talks to PhDs and all this other rubbish.
Wow, we must be living rent-free if he's doing all this. This is great. That's actually very telling.
Yeah, the guy's going crazy.
Is Witsit saying, hold on, did I just say right? Are you saying Witsit saying he's a qualified scientist by association?
Well, he didn't say he was a qualified scientist, but he definitely said that we were pseudoscience over here, and he talks to PhDs, and Flatside wouldn't understand.
That's fine. Did he give an example?
No, he gave absolutely nothing.
So he made a baseless assertion that we're pseudoscience?
Yeah, he gave nothing. Yeah,
Okay.
That's what I was saying earlier. It would be good to go through the video from where I posted it earlier in Master B, just above the link there, a bit up above the link. Paul posted it and a timestamp for when Witsit came in.
Other than the internal politics of this. Was there anything useful in terms of a critique of a claim, or a flat Earth proof, or a debunking, or an ether claim, or something that we need to be actually addressing beyond Witz's self-indulgent, overinflated ego?
Well, it was.
I've not heard it, but I'll probably guess no.
Then no, we won't be covering it.
Well, it's one of those things. Maybe you wouldn't do it on a live show, but it's it's definitely worth covering.
That's what we're doing now. That is what we. This is sufficient, though. Sorry, Adam. This is sufficient, though. That is what we're doing now.
Brian, let me ask you a question. The pollen. Back to the bumblebee and the pollen. So the bumblebee example he gave, you refuted, and then he said, "Well, okay, it's the pollen." So what in the world does pollen and dielectric acceleration have in common?
No, just the pollen attaches itself to the bumblebee due to electrostatics, due to a static charge or whatever. Yeah, Grant, what has that got to do with, the vector directionality that matter takes? He's just latching on to nonsense and trying to claim it as, kind of the background reason for why some things go down and some things go up. Like helium balloon goes up because it doesn't have enough. I can't remember what he said about that, but it'd be like if you related it to a piano, what would he say? That kind of way. His claims are changing now. See, I do think it's important to keep abreast of this stuff because this guy's claims are changing like the wind.
Hey, Brian, are you saying that little Timmy is? Are you saying little Timmy's pulling on Superman's cape again?
Little Timmy is pushing his luck, John.
Last time that happened, Timmy got smoked. Did Timmy not remember that?
Hold on. I admit I wasn't paying attention during this bit of the conversation, but what's this got to do with us exactly? Wasn't he talking to Flatsoid?
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair to him, all that's happened is Flatsoid's reviewed his performance, which has instigated Witsit to go on to Flatsoid's review of him. He's perfectly entitled to do so. I think that's takes a bit of nuts to go on and say, right, I'll defend it. Whether you agree with them or not, I don't see anything antagonistic there. The only bit I've heard, I think, I've only watched a bit, and it just was like two people arguing in the pub who clearly didn't like each other, as opposed to that much detail. But the only bit I've heard is somehow we've been excommunicated, which I think is the only reference to us, which is, I mean, I got an excommunication letter back in December 2022 directly from him. So I'm not sure of its relevance now.
I see.
And Earth curve requires a flat Earth.
Indeed.
There's only the angular size of the sun in the sky. Sorry, Adam.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, of course?
Well, they say that star trails, the time-lapse photography of the star trails, that proves axial rotation. The problem is, if you look at that whole claim and say, well, the Earth could be stationary and the stars could be moving to cause that. No, it's the Earth spinning. I said, well, what else is the Earth doing in your pseudo model? Isn't it going around the sun at 66,660 miles an hour, and it takes a full year to get back to its same spot? Yeah. Well, then that's another vector. How come that is not smearing the star trails? That destroys their hope. Star trails are impossible on a spinning globe that's orbiting the sun.
All righty then. Unfortunately, this computer has been a bit of a troublesome nightmare since the day I've had it, if I'm honest, but I'm hopefully getting closer and closer to it becoming more and more stable. And as you can probably see, we've got Element running at the moment without any issue. But hopefully that will last for the entirety of this hour-long live show. But with that, we're going to cover what we started to cover on the last show that crashed, which is a talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson. So we're going to basically pick off where we've left off, and we'll critique it and then move on to the next video. Hopefully we'll keep this concise.
Yes. To create the deviation that we measure. And those calculations were done, and they were published. And an observatory in Germany got hold of those calculations, and they looked in the exact spot of the sky that the calculation said Neptune was waiting to be discovered right there.
Go ahead, whoever that was. You've got that before I did.
I was about to say he's invoking a type of orbital mechanics, which is based on a flat plane in a celestial sphere model. I don't think he realizes that, or if he does, he's not mentioning it. But that's the idea that the stars are going beneath a terrestrial plane, not a planet.
Perfect. I wasn't sure what I was going to say. I was going to say he's invoking Kepler's third law when he begs the question of these interplanetary motions and the predictions that could have been made that were only put in place by the church in the first instance to figure out these motions. He's just picked a particular motion in this pattern and said it's heliocentric by virtue of our assumption of orbits, and Kepler's assumption, more accurately, of orbit or motion, elliptical in nature, and in terms of scale, which he hasn't actually derived in this, you'd have to assume the R value of Earth and Venus. But, you know, in terms of how he's doing that and what that actually is, the begging the question fallacy is massively superseded by the fact that the model itself is an equatorial plane with a celestial semicircle or semi-sphere over the top of it. Hemisphere. There we go, get there in the end. But that's a flat plane that's been used to make those predictions as described, when you actually boil it down to what it functions as or how it operates. So he might not be aware of that, and until John said it 25 seconds ago, I wasn't either, so kudos.
It was a triumph of Newton's laws. And so this gives us confidence. We're not just...
No, right. The laws of motion of Newton were not right. Richard Feynman. I think we covered that on the last show.
Pulling this out. We calculate this, and the observations show it. So now...
Right, hold on. If you can observe it, then why aren't you measuring it? It shouldn't work the other way around. We calculate it, and then we observe it. Really? No, you should observe it and then measure it if it's real.
This is a crock. This is a lie. This whole story, a concocted lie. I'd heard about it before. Newton. So they do it based on these things and go, here's Neptune, right? And I'll read just from Wiki. I've just found it. In retrospect, after it was discovered, it turned out that it had been observed many times before, but not recognized. I mean, I tell you, whenever you've got a cockamamie, glorious story like that, you know it's all just a lie, basically.
I would give it to them because they need a flat Earth for it. You know, the model they'll invoke is the celestial sphere or their orbital mechanics. Yeah, give it to them.
I was going to say,
it's all
Adam,
true.
that's exactly what I was going to go with. I'm glad you said it first. But absolutely, Adam, would you not say that supersedes the fact that it's an orbital assumption and it makes no difference? They're going to need a flat plane for that. Wouldn't you rather just take the win and take the flat Earth proof along with it?
I'll just point out that the claim is incorrect. The claim is they predicted where it would be to see it. But that isn't the case. History demonstrates that it had been observed many times before.
I'm perfect. I'm glad you reiterated your point, Adam. My panel are freaking ace. Thank you both, gentlemen.
Now watch what happens. We have better and better measurements, and we find out Newton's law is failing. Mercury's work.
Whoa. We find out it's what now? Wasn't it all...
That it's not alone.
Yeah, I already affirmed this from my audience multiple times when I told them what Richard Feynman said to give it credibility. But he's the one admitting it now, isn't he, basically? Like, all right, so like with the kiddies, when you tell them it's all true and right and we've worked it all out and it works perfectly. But here we are with it now being described as quote-unquote failing. Isn't that interesting?
Orbit is not following what it should.
What it should? What the Newtonian maths said it should do? It doesn't work that way around. The maths doesn't dictate reality.
The closest planet to the sun. Well, we've been down that path before. Just throw in another planet that we can't see, and that'll fix it.
Many a true word spoken in jest. So what he's disclaiming, this astrophysicist, is that where there's a problem in the past, they can just throw in random bodies to solve problems. All right, is that right? I see. What? And then later he'll tell you about some nonsensical material that they haven't discovered yet that they're looking for. And everyone will swallow it whole when they say they found it. Go on.
So to fix it, Nathan, they fix it by generating a two-body solution, do they?
Oh, do they now?
They calculate for that.
That's going to be problematic for Einstein now, isn't it?
So, thus was introduced.
Why do they laugh at that? See, me, I'd get up and walk out at that point. So you're telling me that the worldview you're portraying about this heliocentric sphere Earth in a vacuum with these orbital motions you've assumed, when it fails, just slap another random body in. That's what we did before. Oh, right. So when people were presumably persecuted and ridiculed for not accepting this, oh, what do you know, like we are, it doesn't matter that someone's just randomly invented something and chucked it into the model, and then later someone comes along and says, this doesn't work the way it should work with our reality that we're observing. Yeah, that's because maths doesn't dictate reality, and he's openly confessing to an audience who are giggling because he's dropped it in as a jape, that they just randomly invent crap and chuck it in the model. Yeah, it's all crap. That's the bit he isn't confessing. This little tiny disclaimer that, oh yeah, occasionally we have to just, invent a planet or something. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, they do. In fact, the entire model is like that. That's what it all is. But just a little confession, just enough to know that, all right, if you spot some flaw, well, it's only that they occasionally have to invent things in the model. But Flat Earthers saying the entire model is invented and doesn't comport reality. That's a bit of a step too far. I'll just accept that the reality of the model is still true, even though they're blatantly admitting that things aren't right in it and have just been introduced with absolutely no justification other than to solve problems in the model. Sod reality. The model's not quite working properly, so we'll invent something to make it work properly. Not that working means it comports with reality. It doesn't.
Planet Vulcan.
Hello, Arwen.
This would be a planet very close to the sun. So close it would be hard to see. It would be lost
You'll need an R value and a flat plane to get it to make that close to the sun claim.
in the glare. And so there was the hunt for Vulcan. No one found it. But we knew it had to be there, because that's the same problem as the...
Sorry, you invented it, so you knew it had to be there. Yeah? We know unicorns are real. Why? Well, I invented them. They've got to be there. I've invented them.
discovery of Neptune. Einstein comes along, comes up with his theory of motion and his theory of gravity, the special and general theory of relativity.
These are not scientific theories. If they were, they'd have been based on observing natural phenomena, formulating a hypothesis, that's a cause and effect supposition, validating or invalidating your cause and effect supposition, that's called an experiment, and then forming a theory with the validated result. If A, then B, being validated in the experiment, multiple times by multiple people.
Out of those two theories,
they're not theories,
which are corrections to Newton's laws in these...
What, the ones that were told to children as being right were now described as faulty and now being corrected by Einstein? How can he correct them when he's working in a completely different geometry? He's not correcting them. He's invented a different geometry. So it's not corrections to anything.
These extreme regimes. If you're near the sun has very strong gravity. If you...
Really? Strong as in a force, according to Newton and his laws that weren't right? Yeah, it's not a force, though, is it, according to Einstein? It's the fourth dimensional... What, is that the problem-solving dimension that you're talking about? No, this doesn't solve any Newtonian problems when you invent a dimension to bend and stop calling it a force as a result of the geodesics in that space-time that have been bent in the Einsteinian mechanics. That's a totally different geometry. So this is just an outright lie.
If you're moving around in that strong force of...
Strong! Well, it's not a force. But you're putting emphasis on that word for this audience, aren't you, when you're talking about gravity? Liar. Tyson's a charlatan.
Gravity, Newton's laws begin to fail.
Really? So why are they still taught to children? Anybody care to give me an answer to that?
That's why they're still called laws.
Why were they ever called laws?
That's the reason. Moon landing.
Oh, good answer, Brian.
Well,
go ahead. No, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, the moon landings. During the moon landing claim footage in 1969, they had to portray gravity as a force of gravity. So that's one of the main reasons why they must keep teaching it. Because besides all the reasons that they have that they actually need to be teaching it, but the main reason is that they portrayed that footage as all footage after that as a force of gravity. All the ISS footage, it all involves a force of gravity. That has something that has nothing to do with general relativity, and that's why they need to keep teaching it, because they need to keep it alive to keep their NASA space footage alive. That's the actual truth.
Good answer. Please share the show, by the way. Right, is there 55 people watching? Brilliant stuff. Only 15 minutes into the live show. Yes, please smash that share button. There's only 50 people watching because people have shared the show.
And no one knew this. And you look at Einstein's laws, and he says,
Right, laws? They're not laws either. We don't have bent geodesics. We don't have space-time. It's non-physical. It's not applying any laws of nature. It's being described that way to steal valor from descriptions only of things that occur always, inferring that bent geodesics as things that occur always. We just never experience them. Therefore, they're not physical. Therefore, they're not applicable in terms of laws of nature.
Mercury's orbit will not follow Newton's laws. It'll follow this other path.
Why are they still taught in schools? Why are children being brainwashed? What an absolute outrage. They're not right. I made it clear while he was telling the audience how right they were that they weren't right when I described Feynman's quote about how wrong they were. Now he's confessing how wrong they are. Why is this taught to children? Oh, they need to be brainwashed about the moon landing. They need to be growing up in a world that we can travel to the moon, not growing up in a world of wonderment where they look at the twinkling stars and wonder what they are. They have to grow up in a world where they're lied to about gravity so they can still believe a load of set productions with crappy stop-motion animation from the 1960s and 70s. They have to still believe that, don't they? So they're still lied to about this Newtonian force of gravity that isn't real, is broken, is faulty, it's being replaced.
Find out.
I see
And it
what you're
exactly
asking now,
explains.
Nathan.
Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
Well, no, this is the point. So I see what you're asking. The reason it's all taught still is to maintain space, to maintain the heliocentric view, so that fundamentally, from an early age, you can start to believe that you're just lucky to be here. It's a short life. Do what you want. There's no repercussions. There is fundamentally, in the way the existence is described to you from an early age by the state, there is no creator. That's ultimately the point to keep being drilled home. They can change paradigms, but ultimately, as long as there's no creator, that's their definitive aim, as far as I can see.
Well, what I would say is that through the use of their claimed moon footage from 1969 and all footage after that, from every space agency which has to match it, what they're stating is, see the way people are nearly floating away on the moon because the moon has less attractive force than the globe Earth. So that's why you don't float away into space. And that's one of the things they're putting into people's heads. The reason we are not floating away is because of the globe Earth is just big enough to keep us here. You know, if the globe got smaller, we would float away because there isn't enough force of gravity. So that's one of the things they're putting into people's heads from a young age.
Yeah, exactly. So mass attracting mass. The mass of Earth is so big that it does hold us to its surface, whereas you go to the mass of the moon, which is smaller, and it doesn't have as an attractive force. In other words, Newtonian gravity, force of gravity, the lies that are told to children are maintained because of this force that's perpetuated in the myth of the stage production of men on high wire jumping around in slow motion in crappy black and white footage that's been filmed third generation off a projection screen that's played from a video, played out to the press off a TV screen that they've been filming to reach us on our crappy black and white TVs of the day, to later be analysed by us and others like us, and showing how it's basically the same as the cinematography quality of the day when it comes to the fakery of space in cinema. That's all it is. Parallels directly. And what do you know? We have direct parallels now with cinematography from the late 90s and early 2000s in our crappy NASA footage. Crapo vision that we get. People on high wire still. They don't even bother going on the Vomit Comet anymore to fake it. They just stick them in studio, stick them on high wire, remove the ceiling, put it back in post, and everyone's got the idea that there's live men in space floating around, like Superman. It's absolutely nonsense. They're not your god. They're not in the sky heavens floating around. It's nonsense. But there we go. That's what we've got. Crappy cinematography and crappy effects being used to create the idea that there's a gravity force on the moon. So you've got to keep that narrative up until they drop the moon landing. So at the moment, they're in a bit of a tricky situation. One that leaves them indoctrinating and lying to children by their own bloody admission. It's an absolute outrage. One of the specific reasons I homeschool. I don't want my kids lied to by people that are just doing their lies for the paycheck that they get at the end of it. It's not consequential to them about how it'll affect the children when they find out what, at a university grade, wasn't it useful to know all this beautiful maths that doesn't work? But no, I'd rather they weren't wasting their time with that in a school. Why should I let them be lied to when I know damn well that it is a lie and Tyson's admitting to it here? Yeah, well, my kids will have been indoctrinated with that if they were in school, wouldn't they? Good job they're not.
Explained the deviations of Mercury. And so people say, oh, see?
Yes.
Didn't you just do a review on the astrophysicist that started with the young child all the way to another astrophysicist where that demonstrates how they do it?
Yes, that's what I was summarising.
Series?
Yes, that's precisely what I was summarising.
Just before you move on, I just want to highlight the lie. Because he's now going to use the lie of Neptune to explain why and how they can accommodate for the nonsensical orbit of Mercury. I just want to go back to the initial claim. This is from Scientism.org, and it's just talking about Uranus. Now, apparently it's not possible with the naked eye. Okay, but so Neptune is not faint, though, by telescopic standards. In fact, it's bright enough to stimulate colour vision through any telescope with 4 inches. It also states that you can see it with steady hands and binoculars. So this is late 1800s that they're claiming is the first time it's not been seen. How long have we had telescopes for? Yeah, to pretend that this whole premise that you can look at the perturbations of another orbit and predict the gravitational interference of something else and predict where it will be. That's the underlying point, the underlying lie, that they discovered Neptune via this mechanism, this predictive astronomy. And that's what he's now going to try and support his waffle with regards to Mercury, I assume.
These scientists, we thought this was right, and now we all huddle around this thing that's right. No.
That's definitely not what scientists do. If they were scientists, they'd have established empirically the cause and effect they were studying in nature. They wouldn't huddle around it and then suddenly relinquish it because it's an empirical outcome, never to be violated, and useful to develop technology and advance humanity, improve our health, things of that nature. So nobody's walking away from stuff they've huddled around, if they're scientists, to then go and huddle around other stuff. That's pseudoscience mathematicians that do that, not scientists.
That is not how it works since 1600 onward. The way it works is if you have an experimentally determined result.
What, like cause and effect reasoning based on a naturally occurring phenomena with a suppositional statement of cause in the form of a hypothesis validated by systematic experimentation to form theory? That sort of experiment? No. What this will be is the stolen valor. Who was that? Go ahead.
Sir, I think it was just going to go for the observe and declare type of experiment.
Well, it won't be scientific. He's just talked about science and experiment. He's just stealing valor.
Well, I do like the observe and
Go on.
I was going to say I do like the observe and declare since it always has a flat earth underneath it. So I usually let her ride with that.
And double checked and triple checked. That will not later be shown to be false. What you can find is a deeper understanding of the world that encloses that understanding. And that's...
You will not find it to be false. Okay, I'm going to take that apart as well as being incorrect, even by the standards of science that we lay down that he's stealing valor from when he talks about experimental empiricism, which is what he's trying to steal valor from, because he's just detailed it. Okay, no, that isn't correct, because there are certain experimental outcomes that are still empirical by nature that have validated the null. Now, by nature of the setup and formulation of the logic of science, you're only testing the alternative. That is to say that your supposition of cause, you're trying to prove as true. If you think A causes B, B being the phenomena you're studying in nature, you want A to be the cause. You want to vary A and see B happen. That's the outcome you are trying to achieve, and you only test for that outcome. What you don't test for is to not get that outcome. Yeah? That is the aspect of falsifiability that's built into the scientific method. So observable, testable, repeatable and falsifiable. Falsifiable because within the suppositional statement of cause that is a hypothesis, you've got, it's also known as a scientific prediction. Might as well drop that in there. That's what a hypothesis is. A scientific prediction predicts the cause of the effect. Well, in that prediction, you've got two statements. A causes B, B being the effect you're studying and want to induce, and A does not cause B. Now, that's the falsifiability aspect, because at the end of the procedure, that's varying A to see if it causes B. That's an experiment. At the end of that process, one or other will be proven, disproving, falsifying the other. So if A doesn't cause B, that statement is proven true, but A causing B is ultimately falsified, because both can't simultaneously be true. That is the aspect of falsifiability. Now, what he's doing is juxtaposing that with people relinquishing just those stories and moving over to a new hotness when one comes along, but implying that that's somehow bloody science because something's been shown to be wrong. So the word falsifiable is being taken to the context of proven wrong because it's a just so story in this little magic trick that Tyson's trying to pull off here, and I'm pulling apart for a live audience. Shout out to Godzilla for the super chat, who says, so for the heliocentric religion, is Tyson their Black Pope? Also, good morning. I don't really get the reference for Black Pope. Do you just mean because he's black and he's like head of the heliocentric pseudoscience church, making him the Pope? Is that what you mean? Because if so, racist. The black bit's not relevant. But maybe I'll not call them that.
It was relating to this hidden power in the background. Which is probably what it was. I think he's greasing the skids here for the old baller argument of the word what supersede means. So he's not going to wanting to destroy Newton, but Einstein's going to supersede him, which doesn't mean it's wrong. It means it encompasses it, which is where I smell it's going.
You know, there's an interesting point about experiment, because there is an aspect of Newtonian and relativity that is experimentally falsifiable, and that's the concept of locality of photons.
Yeah, but the aspect of falsifiability, would that be to say that you're assuming a cause, trying to validate it and showing that it is not the case, and therefore validating the null, falsifying the presumed cause of the locality of photons? Is that something that you're saying could be falsified if you put it through the method? Isn't necessarily the case, but it could be.
Well, yeah, that the cause of the photon's motion is the photon behind it. No, that would be a locality. That'd be a local push. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, you're referring to the laws of Newton were not correct in terms of if we use quantum mechanics, that photon hasn't got a position necessarily, which means Newton's laws and Einstein's laws can't be correct.
Right, using Bell's theorem, yeah. But, you know, you can experimentally show that concept false.
I just walk back in, just jumping in here. Whether it's Einstein or Newton, they're both claiming some sort of gravity. What does a helium balloon do to both of those?
Well, I can describe a helium balloon following a bent geodesic in space-time, if that's what you're inferring. So I don't know if that's going to make your example fall flat on its face, but we'll see.
Well, he's saying that gravity is a force, and then later they're saying gravity is not a force, and then they're bringing in 4D space-time, and then obviously you can't use a concept. You can't show me time in the box. You know, we've gone over that. But the whole point is, when we did the series with the student being young all the way to the astrophysicist, it started with gravity, Newtonian, and then it ended with Einsteinian. And here we got Neil deGrasse Tyson mixing and mashing. But at the end of the day, they need gravity to be a force, because what's keeping the water and everything on Earth. They still needed to be in conceptual form, some kind of a
I
force
see, I
that
see.
doesn't allow.
No, you're correct. Yes, that is the purpose of what he's doing. Yes, you're absolutely spot on. He's he's blurring the lines because they need a force, is what you're saying, and you're correct.
That's what happened with Einstein. Einstein's theories of motion and gravity
were not right either.
If you put in low speeds and low gravity in the equations,
speeds, well, quantum mechanics has just been discussed, and when you're talking about speeds for things that have got a diffraction pattern, a probability distribution, how are you going to describe the speeds? I mean, this notion has all been debunked by quantum mechanics.
they become Newton's equations.
No, they don't. Is he talking about bent geodesics in space-time becoming Newtonian? No, they do not.
I'd like to see the formula for that.
Yep, show us. Okay, we'll hold Tyson to this. He's saying that you can turn Einsteinian pseudo 4D space-time into Newtonian 3D Euclidean geometry. That's what he said just then, was he not? Let's just double check before I...
Well, maybe he saw Interstellar and it's like, remember that giant chalkboard full with all that formula? That was supposedly the solution, right?
I'm not talking about Interstellar, right? I just want to hear what he said again. Let's just listen again.
Einstein's theories of motion and gravity, if you put in low speeds and low gravity in the equations, they become Newton's equations.
Low speeds and low gravity, what, low amounts of bent space-time become 3D? That's wrong. That's incorrect. Can't be done. Isn't geometrically possible. So, what's he talking about? This is either ignorance or just part of the swindle in verbal bullshitting, because this is simply not the case. So, what do you reckon? Just part of the magic trick? Lies? What is
I
it?
think it's a sloppy briefcase switch. It's just a sloppy, everybody can see it briefcase switch. Like, no.
Yeah, low speeds. I mean, technically, according to Newtonian, what they call Newtonian gravity, there's an instantaneous action at a distance. Whereas with Einsteinian, everything is limited to a two-way speed of light calculation. So how does slowing down what they're calling general relativity, or whatever the hell that would mean?
Well, there's a pattern.
You know, instantaneous action at a distance force. You know, it's complete nonsense. He's BSing people.
Sorry, Brian. No, I'm sorry. I thought you were done twice. No, there's a pattern developing with it. First, he says, the reason this thing is here is because we didn't know there was a planet behind it. And the reason that thing did that is we didn't know there was a planet behind it. So that explains everything. Just say there's something behind it until you find it. There's something behind that. That explains that. So now he's saying this about Einstein and Newton. Well, okay, it doesn't work. Something's wrong. But, you know, if it's low speeds, it does work. Well, can you please demonstrate either of those? You can't demonstrate any of the stuff that you're talking about.
Okay, quick shout out to
but
original...
the low speed of what?
Oh, I waited. Shout out to Original D-Rose, says, alluding to Godzilla 37, or at Godzilla 37, I stand over the statement, Tyson being, quote, so-called, eliminates prejudices and stereotypes when redundant BS comes from pastime so-called white male representatives, hence being hyper-influential. That's a bit of a mouthful. Thanks, D-Rose, for the super chat, and also for the second super chat that says, correction typo, Tyson being so-called black. Okay, gotcha. Let's just read that again. I stand over the statement, Tyson being so-called black eliminates prejudices / stereotypes when redundant BS comes from past-time so-called white male representatives, hence being hyper-influential. Thank you for the super chats, Original D-Rose. Really appreciate the support.
I object to Newton being representative of me.
Newton wasn't being representative as black. Did you mishear?
Well, the white people don't want him either. So somebody's got to take him.
But the white people aren't claiming that Newton was black. Let's just get this nipped in the bud.
Pardon me. Excuse me.
Well
So
done.
Zen Solo, who just asked me, Zen Solo just put in the super chat. I'm sorry. He said, I have no idea what you said, LOL. And I wasn't speaking about Newton. I was speaking about Tyson, according to Godzilla. Godzilla made a good point. A lot of times when they put somebody that's so-called black, that grabs a demographic. That also eliminates the prejudices and the stereotypes of, oh, here goes another guy. Here goes another European so-called white guy telling us and switching the game and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of times when they put a poster boy, ooh, well, why would they put him on there? Tyson grabs a certain influence to the world to say. Even Tyson says, see, they now have the head top astrophysicist is a so-called African American, so his word must be bond. He must know better. He would never lie to the world because he's a product of the the atrocities of the world. That's what I was trying to say. Zen
No,
Solo.
we
Now
totally
you
got it.
catch on.
It was. I was just to be clear. I was just we were joking around, or I was when I said it was in regards to Newton being black. No, your point was really clear in your super chat. I'm glad you reiterated it because it's a good point. You're saying he's going to be more household friendly if he's a black man. That's what you're basically saying.
Exactly. So you
Well,
got it, Zen Solo,
let's
if you're out there listening.
No, I think you're right. I
let's
think
not forget.
it's worth discussing. What would be the impression if it was who's more effective, Bill Nye or Neil deGrasse Tyson? And the answer is by a million miles Tyson, because you can easily look at Bill Nye and go, "Nah, white privileged prick, middle class tosser, get lost."
Hang on. Don't forget how this whole video starts. Neil deGrasse Tyson's hero, his man, is Isaac Newton, the white European.
That doesn't make him black.
I didn't say he was black. I'm just saying Neil deGrasse Tyson honors this guy.
Exactly. I
So
understand what 10th Man is saying. He's saying, yeah, well, if Newton supports him, why don't you support him, all you 14 million or so
Oh,
African
gotcha.
Americans?
Now I'm picking up on where I'm not picking up. Right, okay. So you're saying if the nice, friendly black man says that this white privileged guy is to be trusted, then we should all trust that white privileged guy? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Gotcha, 10th. Okay, very good. We're almost at the end of this video, by the way. Also, 100 people watching. Woo! Please share the show. Obviously, a massive thank you to all of you who shared already. That's the only reason we've got the people watching that we have.
So Newton's universe is a subset, an accurately described subset of a larger universe that Einstein has described.
Shout out to Adam Meakin. Called it. Absolutely correct. Told you my panel were absolutely freaking ace. Yeah. So he was greasing the skids the whole time, Adam.
Smelt like it. Like it just smelt like when we used to argue the word supersede.
Yep.
He's not wrong.
And even with Einstein,
refracted.
Say again, Brian.
Just say shout out refracted.
I don't know what that means.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
his equations can't take us to the center of a black hole, the singularity that's there, the singularity at the beginning of the universe.
Sorry.
Hold
His equations can't take you to a black hole because a black hole is consistent of the center of a bent geodesic in space-time. So the fact that it's being produced by the dimension integral to 4D space-time in Einstein that is literally not present in Newtonian geometry, how can it? It's just, what? Go ahead, Adam.
I've got an image now of him trying to get on a Newtonian equation and not being able to go to the moon. Gets on the latest Einsteinian equation and he can go to the moon. Go to the center of a black hole, sorry. This is the point. He's saying the equation doesn't allow me to go there. Newton's maths doesn't. But if I use Einsteinian, I can make all sorts of stuff up to show that I could go to the center of a black hole. Does it even mean black holes exist? No. I'm not sure really what it proves, other than all of this is not in reality, it's in mathematics.
I'm going to steal their examples after these super chats because they do it by juxtaposing various dimensions, and I can do that too in reverse. So I'm going to do that after shouting out these super chats. So Godzilla37, thank you very much indeed. Says D Rose is ace. My point was a pun. meant to be lightly taken lightly. But D Rose's point is indeed valid. Again, I got the pun, and to reiterate your pun, I turned it into a joke about Newton. But why not? But it still had an absolutely valid point attached to it, and D Rose is ace. So thank you for the super chat, Godzilla 37. Also, go ahead,
Nathan. I'm sorry, real quick to add just a little small part of it. What's really impacting to what impacts the whole point that I'm saying and Godzilla saying? How dare Nathan or say 10th Man or whoever is supposedly so-called white criticize this renowned astrophysicist African-American from the United States? See, they always put a brother down. That's another thing. You can't criticize, you can walk on eggshells when you're criticizing Obama versus criticizing Bush. That's how they do. Put the brother in there, let him run the same game, and how dare the male white males
that might be true. You can hear the objection in everyone's voice. I'm going to go first, though, 10th. That might be true for the States, but I'm going to ask Adam to back me up. That sort of racial prejudice and the manipulation of said racial prejudice isn't anywhere near as prevalent here in the UK. I think Adam would agree.
I agree 1,000%. I agree 1,000%. That's why I said the United States. That's the game they play here.
Yes.
It's the strongest here.
Yeah, and it's kind of overt to people who see it from here. So because it isn't that way here, in terms of, no offense to black people around the world, no one gives a shit here that you're black or not, which is a good thing. Take my word for it. It doesn't make any difference here. Now, don't get me wrong. There is going to be, like everywhere, a small percentage of racists, literal racists, that just don't like black people. But for the most part in the UK, there isn't a sort of, at least perceived, because of the indoctrination you get through your televisions in the States, perceived racial outrage and hatred that needs to be built upon to divide and conquer. That's all it's really used for. But the extent that it's used for in the States isn't the same as it is here, because I'm seeking Adam's approval in this regard. You're in a presumably quite Muslim area like I grew up in, right? Which isn't black, but it's the same thing when you're talking about racial prejudices. Correct, Adam?
Well, no, I've got a very black community. I've got African blacks, and then you've got the Caribbean blacks. So we've got that. We've got Muslims. We've got pretty much everything. It's pretty multicultural. So I think within people, you wouldn't call that card wouldn't be used person to person over here. You might see it in the media a little bit, but certainly not in this topic. You'd see it in more contentious social issues where it would be played, but in no way in the world would the criticism of something like the lady that's took over Patrick Moore's job, she's black, yeah? Doesn't mean nobody would criticise her and say she's talking crap at all. It wouldn't be a consideration to me for their points of view. Why was she claiming this, that, and the other? I don't think it in this field or in any kind of scientific field or theory field that it would be even thought of in terms of the criticism. But I could probably recognise it more in the States. I get D Rose's point because he's a lot more immune to criticism.
Yes.
And he will play the black card. Then you can hear him do that a number of times to say, you can't challenge me. Look at me. I'm a strong, proud African American representing physics. You should just get behind me.
Yeah, that wouldn't wash here. In other words, where you might have an aspect of people being or treading lightly because he's a brother, here that wouldn't make any difference, or at least to me. And by the sounds of things, Adam, and we're speaking for stereotyping a lot of people here, so I've got to be quite careful. But I wouldn't give a crap. I don't care what colour your skin is, and I don't think the majority of the people in the UK, unless they are specifically racist, I've got to put that disclaimer in, because he's got a different colour skin to the majority of the people in the country. Therefore, there is going to always be that. But I'm saying, for the most part, it's not going to make any difference that you're black. I don't care that you're black. I'm criticising your point. The fact that you're black is irrelevant.
Well, hold on. Let me just flip this around right quick. Being from a multicultural society like the United States, we can safely say that European countries are predominantly white. Therefore, you all are racist.
You could argue that as inherent, but yeah, in terms of how the attitude would come across, in terms of, I don't know, maybe it is prevalent. I used to work in recruitment. I've worked in.
I'm kidding.
I can't think of.
Don't defend that.
Go on, John.
Don't defend that. I was just being a smart ass.
Yeah, I could
There's
tell. He was joking. He
Oh,
was
okay.
joking.
I didn't pick up on it.
term.
Can you say it again then? Because I didn't pick up on it being a smart ass comment. I just reacted to it off the cuff and I've forgotten what you said now.
Being from a multicultural society, because the U.S. has a lot more different types of people, because it is a country of immigrants, right? I could flip it back and say, because you're from a predominantly European country, which is, or you're from a white country, which is associated as a European country, say that that's racist. It's all just divisive terminology. That's
I
all
got
it
you.
is.
You're playing on the divide and conquer aspect and introducing it as a jape. I got you. However, there is some sentiment
Everybody
of
there
truth
is an immigrant.
in your statement, though. That's the maybe ironic point here, but maybe we won't labour that. I will shout out him's sake, though, before the chat goes off my screen. Stop scamming me out of money. What? With science that proves things, Nathan. Okay. I'll try my best not to.
Look, they do the race card in politics and wherever they find it convenient. There are people who are racist, and that's wrong. But to use the race card in everything is a ploy. That's just a joke. In California, before I moved, I think the DMV had to speak like over 60 languages. We were so many types of people, everyone getting along with everybody until somebody who comes and stirs it up with the race card.
Well, I think the thing is it's not just in America now that it's about black hate. It's about white guilt. And that's what they push. That's why you see so many stupid white people supporting things that even black people aren't supporting. And they're doing it out of guilt. Stupid things that happen.
You are absolutely right, but we will just diverge into the Hegelian dialectic if we're not careful. And yes, divide and conquer, and yeah, splitting whites against blacks, men against women. I find it fascinating. It is something I look at off the flat Earth clock, so to speak. At the moment, I'm looking at the way the dialect. How do you say that word? Is it dialectic? Hegelian dialectic. I can never quite say that right. Anyway,
never say dielectric.
Like dielectric.
And I just want to say again, being almost 60, living in the United States of America, both sides do it. It ain't just the so-called whites doing it, pushing that race card. It's a lot of the ones who call victimization. They use it a lot for their getting over and trying to get excuses for this and that and there. So let's be clear on that too.
That may be true, D-Rose, but your language is now buying into that paradigm, or that it's not paradigm. That flip side of the coin being put against each other in your phraseology. Oh, it's not just the one side; it's but the whole putting one side against each other in the first instance, be it black against white, male against female, whatever it may be, is introduced to keep people under control. That's the only reason it's done. If you're fighting amongst yourselves, then you're not pointing your attention towards the common enemy that's keeping you under control, suppressing you, or taking away some of your freedoms, a lot of which is going on at the moment. So where your freedoms are being taken away from you, or your civil liberties are slowly being eroded, that is less noticeable if you're concerned that the white man's suppressing you, or it's the same flip side of the same coin. You're guilty because of your white privilege. That keeps you distracted and keeps you under control. Keeps you fighting amongst yourselves.
You nailed it.
Well, it's just common knowledge in terms of divide and conquer. But anyway, let's see if we can round it out. Still 100 people watching. Did nobody take heed of my last encouragement to share the show? I'm being dead serious. Please share the show. I hadn't done this yet. Good job of reminding myself. Please go and let this videographer know, as we're still actually broadcasting. Thank God my RAM stayed working. So this video, which is called Neil deGrasse Tyson, Einstein versus Newton, who was right, ? On the channel Discovery Panda. Although this can't be the original videographer, right? With 1.78k subscribers. This is just somebody who's republished it, right?
Doesn't matter. Just send it and thank them.
Okay, well, they're going to share anyway, as we've covered this video, but I would imagine this is definitely not the original videographer. But there we go. Let them know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. That's all it needs.
Hey, it's probably the only way we're going to get a response is we go to the indirect medium that shared it, because the direct medium never gets in touch with us hardly ever.
Fair enough. You've shared it, and it's not from the original source 10th. I'm not going to have a go at you. It's not your fault. It doesn't matter. But please let the videographer who republished this know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link whizzing on by in the chat as we speak. So just click on it. You will still be here when you come back, but just leave them a polite comment. Help them in the algorithm. They need all the help they can get. They're definitely a small channel republishing stuff, which, you know, doesn't necessarily mean they're not a videographer. And I don't know, and I haven't checked, but we are responding to their video, which has made its way up the algorithm for whatever reason. So there we go. Just let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully you'll return and the numbers will go back up after you've come back. Anywho, let's carry on. Hopefully we will get to the end of this video on this live stream.
We know now that his theories fail.
Yeah, so they weren't theories. Theories are based on scientific validation. That's empirical evidence. They don't fail thereafter if they're scientific theories.
They blow up.
He just hang on. He says now, we know now his theories fail. A minute ago, he says they don't fail if it's a smaller speed.
Yeah. Yeah. You can use pseudo four-space time geodesic bending to describe Euclidean three-space if you make it slow enough and less enough gravity. So if you don't warp the bending space-time enough in the fourth dimension, you'll create the fourth dimension in the third dimension. Oh, that was what I was going to do. I was going to take it back the other way. Yes, exactly. Right. Hopefully I can retrain my brain to where it was 10 minutes ago. If you imagine that his notions of being able to describe Einsteinian mechanics in Newtonian geometry is true, then it's akin to saying, when I draw a full size, that is to say, I get a canvas that's 6 foot high, and on the canvas I draw a table and a chair. Can you sit on the chair in a three-dimensional manner when it's a painted picture on a canvas? I'm going to ask this. It's not rhetorical, so if anyone wants to play along, feel free. But that's my question. In terms of the way he will juxtapose a fourth dimension with a third dimension in this regard. So he's saying bent geodesics, that's a fourth dimensional concept, space-time, will be diluted down to three-dimensionality. Okay. Well, likewise, can we go the other direction? Because obviously, if it's translatable one way, it's translatable from Newtonian mechanics to Einsteinian. And I'm saying, okay, well, let's see by comparison so you can conceptualize what that would involve. Can you translate a picture that's two-dimensional into you actually sat on the chair, physically? Not with any remaking of the picture, but just based on its two-dimensionality. Is there a third dimension in the canvas for you to sit on, is the question.
No, there isn't.
Right.
There can't be.
And likewise, when you go from Newtonian 3 dimensions to Einsteinian 4th dimensions, there is no geodesic in bent space-time to create a black hole in the maths. So it's never going to translate, because there's no 4th dimension in Newtonian mathematics. It just doesn't exist. It's an extra invented dimension by Einstein to solve problems of gravity that have, been superseded since Einstein, but essentially are overcome by gas law. Not actual laws of nature that are inviolable and do always apply, unlike this garbage that's also been labelled as a law when it comes to Einsteinian fourth-dimensional space-time. Not translatable to Newtonian mechanics of mass-attracting mass that you need for your moon landings. Please share the show, by the way. Let's see if we can crawl up the viewing numbers beyond 100.
On the page. So we have a whole frontier of science. The string theorists, you've heard of them. The string theorists. We got top people working on this to try to extend Einstein's laws into an even bigger regime.
Stop. All right.
Oh God, lots of objections.
This is like a movie.
Hold on, 10th.
Like
Hold on, 10th. I had Adam first. Then Adam, then 10th. Go ahead.
What sort of men's he got working on it? Top men. There's the validation is my point. That's just, yeah. To prove this is real science, we've got the top men working on it. It's just
go ahead, 10th.
Pure rhetoric.
No, it's the same as Adam. This reminds me of movies. We got our top people working on it. It's like, what? Who are they working on what? Something that only exists in the map? I mean, give me a break.
These are the same top people that were huddled around a really good idea. And then when something else came along, they're very fickle. They huddled around a different idea. Those sort of top men. Right?
Well, yeah, if Newton was the top man before, he's not the top man now.
that can then explain everything that's in our universe, not most things.
So what you're saying is that human activity is causing the planet to warm.
Sorry, who is this woman, and how the hell did she extract that from what he's just said? Sorry, separate agenda, one-track mind? What's the problem, lady? You notice how I couldn't give two tosses that she's female? Yeah? Speak shit, expect pain. That's the bottom line here, right? When you associate those two things together and everyone laughs, it's because they weren't paying attention to what Tyson was actually saying. You know, when you're going through it word by word and you hear a non sequitur like that, you go, whoa, where did that come from?
I
Yes.
think
The whole purpose of it.
Say again,
I think
Brian.
she's making a joke about. Go on, Brian.
I was saying the whole purpose of what she said and her coming in there was to move people's attention away in a humorous way, but also begging the question way, away from what Tyson was saying, which makes absolutely no sense to anyone who actually is listening. And in any way, concerning their own model. So things like that, as you see in these public settings and these videos, these things are always happening. Where at the point where he should be amalgamating something or explaining something, this nonsense comes in, and it's a diversion away from him having to amalgamate, let's just say, 3-dimensional and 4-dimensional maths. You know,
it's the distraction in his magic stage act, isn't it? She is. He's just done a little bit of chicanery, so she's over there going ta-da. So you look over there, yeah, with that nonsense. So, like you say, Brian, so you would kind of don't digest the waffle that's just come out,
right?
So he's never presented the formula. Then he hasn't actually gotten to that.
No, Alwyn, but it was something that I'm glad you reminded me of, because it's something we can hold him to task on. He did specifically say, I can't remember the exact quote, sorry, I have to paraphrase, I'm sorry. But he's essentially saying that your Newtonian 3-dimensional mathematics will work in a 4th-dimensional black hole way when you go with, correct me if I'm wrong in terms of my paraphrasing, he said if you've got a slow enough speed and a smaller amount, I can't remember how I phrased it, of gravity, a lesser amount of gravity, something like that. Well, that's his claim now.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to see those.
He started to describe that, but I don't think that actually went anywhere. It just kind of gave that sort of example and then moved on.
Doesn't matter. He made it as a claim. So therefore, okay, we want to see those maths. That's his claim. It didn't matter that he didn't back it up. Go ahead, Adam.
That was the supersedence point of view. So when he was trying to justify that Einstein wasn't just full of crap, and because we've now got Einstein, that's his point of validation. You see, you can encompass. So it encompasses it at slower speeds and lower gravity, then it does work. So he wasn't wrong, but the way we view it now, we can see that we've got more explanation, I think is the way he tried to picture it.
Well, can I say this?
I see it.
Hold on, Brian. Go ahead, John, then Brian.
Well, if I can write a story within the Star Wars universe that encompasses Narnia, does that make either one of them true?
Totally.
Hold on. Depends how well it works mathematically.
Mr. Timbers with a lightsaber, I'm saying yes to that.
Well, that's called a crossover, right? You can merge a universe through like interdimensional crossovers in storytelling.
That's all it is. That's all it is, though. It's storytelling. Like this is just storytelling. Both sides.
But a razor blade made out of a lightsaber to shave Aslan, that would be pretty cool.
Well, how I see it is a little bit different. It's actually very straightforward. As all he's doing is making the same claim that ballers made to us for a good few years, that none of them could ever produce any evidence for. Is that what he's actually stating is, if I change Einstein's field equations, then I can make all kinds of crazy claims about them. But they're not Einstein's field equations anymore. So it's not Einstein's general relativity that you're using. It's Neil deGrasse Tyson's field equation. Because once you change Einstein's field equations, you can't claim they're Einstein's anymore. You can't do that. You know, because it's like, if I paint a mustache on the Mona Lisa, can I then claim that it's still done by Leonardo da Vinci? He didn't paint that mustache. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, it's not the Mona Lisa anymore. That's not Einstein's field equations anymore. So once he changes them, then they're his. It's Poisson's field equations, not Einstein's, and that's what he's trying to do without stating it. Honestly,
What I'm saying is, emergent scientific truths assert this, and if you want to deny that in a free country, go right ahead. But you should not be put in control of anything that involves the Earth.
So where's the evidence?
Emergent, not the method, but just emergent.
it's funny that a lot of the stuff that's coming out of Tyson here now, we've kind of heard already. It's like as if he's allowing the ballers to kind of make stuff up, and then he's kind of going along with that made-up stuff because he has no way to defend questions that we might pose to him. People like us, let's just say. Or just these questions, not us in specific. What?
I think she was just making a little pun or joke about global warming and saving the earth, and that's why he said what he said to her.
I don't know, guys, but you're all ridiculous and you're not deserving of being in control of the earth. If you don't believe that Newtonian gravity and Einsteinian gravity are compatible, right? You just got to believe it. He didn't present the actual evidence. He just reiterated, like, yeah, if you don't believe it, you're just stupid, man.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to do a semi-round out, if you want to call it that, because if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premium Streams or live, then stay tuned as I'm going to continue the live stream just to stress test the computer. But obviously this would be the normal round out point for the live show, other than I want to keep the stress on the computer. So the conversation will continue live, but I want to say a massive thank you to both Discord, G+, and Element panels for making today's live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff, just in case the show does crash after this round out. So with that, I'll hand back to the panel. Hopefully you can enjoy their dulcet tones as I fiddle and faff and check that everything's still at the right temperature. But yeah, stay tuned if you're watching live. I will do potentially another round out if we go to the after show. And yeah, that's it. So this is a weird moment now, because obviously we've got to transition back to having a conversation after me doing a round out when I haven't actually ended the show. But if you can ignore that, we'll hopefully continue at the same tempo.
Well, I was going to say something on what he just said. It's similar to a Christian saying, if you're not Christian, you can't run the world.
Exactly. He got a lot of nerve
stance.
saying that. I was going to say that charlatan, chubby clown. How dare he?
He rose.
How dare he?
Yeah. Someone like D-Rose is going to get more angry at the other Tyson because he doesn't have all the indoctrination that the public has, the white public has, because he can see right straight through Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I'm sick of him.
I just want to see the formula, man. I mean, I believe him. I believe. Could you show how, please, Neil?
It's an
Or
equation.
Fight the Flat Earth, who I remember brought this up. It's almost like, did Neil just take over a Fight the Flat Earth argument?
Exactly,
Nathan,
Alan. That's what I was saying. Sorry,
Nathan. What's the line from the movie where it says our mathematicians could make the stars further or closer?
It's not a movie. That's from 1984. So when he's torturing the main character, he's in room 101, and I don't know what he's doing, putting rats on his face or something like that, horrible. And he starts appealing to the notions of space, and he asks him if do you not think it's beyond our mathematicians to make the stars close or far away? It's posed as a question from memory, but it's been a while since I've read 1984. But it's from that. Anyway, just one shout out to James Richards. He says the shape of the Earth has nothing to do with science. It's all about razzle-dazzling the mind. Yeah, exactly. It's not a cause and effect relationship when you talk about the concrete noun of Earth's shape. Now, we as flat earthers shouldn't be claiming shape, because an aspect of Earth's geometry is how flat it is. But Brian, I'm hoping, will take over from that and describe how stating that is actually wrong. So we'll see if he corrects me. Brian.
Can I round out that previous point before Brian goes?
Only because Brian's going to correct me in terms of a flat statement in terms of geometric assertions. But we'll see. Brian, I'd prefer to go first if you don't mind. You might not be there.
Could you tell me that again, Nathan?
Oh, don't worry about it.
What you said again.
Don't worry about it, Brian. It's not that important.
No, I want to do it. It's just that I want to make sure that I'm.
It's just it was something you made note of in one of your recent videos in terms of people not understanding geometry when they say it can't be flat or they're describing flat. It's a harken back to Bev with their misapprehensions of flat versus level. But don't worry about it.
Yeah. No. People don't understand. The people are holding other people to a geometric standard when they use the term flat. Flat is only describing. It's only a description. So to give an example, a 5-inch in diameter pizza that has mozzarella, tomato sauce, and onions on it, then you couldn't describe the top of that flat. You'd have to say it's going to got undulations. But if you use those exact same toppings and make the base 500 miles in diameter, then you'd only describe the whole thing as flat, because it's a way of describing. You're describing what you see. So when they say we have hills and mountains and valleys, so it's not flat, it's like, no, it means that you're using the term flat in a geometric standard, which is completely wrong.
Perfect.
If that's what I'm trying. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. That was as concise.
Would only be a tiny. Well, yeah.
No. I just want to commend you at the end, where you have a habit of you'll reiterate it, and at the point of the highest consistency, I want to say, great, well pointed out. That's exactly the point I was hoping you'd point out. Yes, thank you.
And may I make a pun? But
you
not
can
a
after
pun?
10th, who's waiting in the queue.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, D Rose. My point was on Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry. I wanted to allude to what Brian was saying. And there's this particular style of pizza. It's called flatbread. Okay, flatbread. Now they wouldn't call it flatbread if it wasn't flat. So I understand what Brian's saying, and I reiterate what Brian's saying. But let's stop using semantics, Globers, and people who want to act like they don't know what we're talking
hold on.
about.
I'm glad you've said that, because it means you've missed his point. No. Sorry. Well, he's missed his point. He's missed Brian's point. But,
Yeah,
I was going to say.
No, I didn't. I may
was gonna
sound
say-
like I did, but I didn't.
Okay, go ahead, 10th.
Oh my gosh, the timing. No, I was going to say, D Rose. When it comes to pizza, nobody gives a toss.
Why did I know a pun was coming?
Sorry. The point being that if you take the full height of Mount Everest above mean sea level, which is 5.5 miles, and you divide that into the even though it seems wrong mathematically, but if you divide that into the total surface area within the latitude and longitude grid, it divides into it something like 90 million times. So are you going to notice, if you could see the whole of the Earth, are you going to notice Mount Everest sticking up? No, you're not. The same way as you don't see little undulations on your tabletop. But if you get down real close or zoom in or get a microscope, you'll notice them. So, so it's not, flat is just a description.
Right.
It's not a geometric claim.
Having one part that isn't higher or lower than the other, right, you can describe in terms of it being level. But when D Rose did give a reasonably good example in that regard, it's like, well, if you look at flatbread, is it flat? Well, no, but is it an aspect? Is the aspect of it supposed to be no aspect one higher or lower than the other across the entirety? Well, yeah, but you're talking about comparing a whiteboard and saying, when horizontal, this isn't flat. Well, why not? Well, because if you get down to the microscopic level, you can see that there's tiny little undulations in the surface. Okay, fine. But it's still level. It's still measured level.
It's not even that. It's like, what other word can you use to describe that whiteboard? The surface. If you can't describe it as flat, what other word is there as a description? Because flat is a description. You can't describe it as curved. You can't describe it as rectangular. You can only describe it as flat. Flat is the description that we have to describe these things.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And every word,
it's not
and every word you use, Brian, has synonymity. Is synonymous with flat, leveled, plane. That's all synonymous with flat. Because when they made that board, they used a leveler, which is a tool that's levels planes to make them leveled, and then that's how they made the chalkboard or the whiteboard, whatever. They know this. They use semantics to try to play that mind game, word game, to try to
Right.
avoid being the concession. That's it.
Right. And what are the undulations in regard to? Right. You said microscopic undulations in regard to what? Because the baseline is what we're talking about. And that's what it's measured against. So even on the microscopic level, you're still comparing it to a flat baseline when you're talking about something that you experience as flat. And you're measuring against that baseline to say there's undulations. So even
Well,
that
yeah,
falls apart.
even if we take water at rest, right? Water at rest, right? And we state that water level is a tool for establishing a horizontal plane of reference. Let's just say we state that. Now, that would mean that we're claiming that this water level between these two vials of water is horizontal, right? But if you go in microscopically on the top of that water, it won't be totally flat. There'll be little microscopic, undulations on the surface of the water. It won't be, because it has bonds and different things, it won't appear exactly flat to you. As in, if you're expecting it to be 100% smooth without undulations, that won't happen. It can't happen. We don't live in a two-dimensional world. Everything is three-dimensional. It just might appear two-dimensional to us from a greater perspective, but microscopically, there is no such thing as two-dimensional.
Right, but still those microscopic undulations will be measured against. If you're measuring a flat surface and you zoom in, you will still be measuring those undulations against a flat baseline. It's confusing the geometry with experience and trying to say geometry is what we experience. That's the trick.
Yeah, should I describe the Earth as a topographical plane, or should I just say it's flat? I mean, what's me saying it's a topographical plane? Well, what am I claiming there? I'm not describing it as a whole, am I? How is what saying topographical plane different from flat? How is that different? Things like that. Trying to make up different descriptions for the Earth. There's only one way to correctly describe it, and that's flat. That is the only way to correctly describe it. But flat is not a shape, it's not a geometric plane. Sorry, 1 second, just give me a finish. Flat is not a shape, it is not a geometric plane. You can't hold someone to a geometric standard. And the people who first started this spent a whole year holding people to a geometric standard before they looked at the definition of flat, which has a load of different definitions because it's a description. Finished.
All right. Remember Highlander came and said, Nathan, my house is built on a hillside. I'm not on a flat earth. It's like, wait a minute, what's your foundation? Do you have a foundation that's level and horizontal for your house, or is it on the curve of the hill?
Exactly. Go to Bel Air and talk that crap. Them homes on the hill in California, and you can see where when you look at how they're on those mud hills, that their foundation is as leveled as crazy, and then they have these long pillars that come into the earth that you can see the difference of why they're not tilted, because they were built on the hill, like he said. The freaking house, they'd be walking sideways on their house. They'll be going down to their living room, literally, like going down that hill. Come on, they know better. They try to play stupid. They play stupid to avoid concession.
Right, but by the standard they're trying to hold us to with that nonsense argument, if you flipped it back on them, well, then the Earth's not curving either because there's microscopic undulations. It's ridiculous. It's ad absurdum. Ad absurdum. It's reducing the argument to the level of absurdity just so you don't have to admit it.
Exactly. Next thing you know, you arguing like they say, why are you arguing with that 3-year-old child? That's what my wife said to me. Why are you even negotiating and arguing with the child? The child's only 6. I mean, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm the adult. I know better. But that's how they do. They're children, and they're just playing games, and they're just, excuse the language, fucking with your head.
Well, what it is actually is you have a lot of people who think they're finding some kind of new wisdom or knowledge without thinking about what it is that they're actually stating. There's nothing new or wisdom or knowledge about it. You're holding people who are describing something with the town flat to a geometric claim. It's not a geometric claim. It is only a way of describing. So how can you hold someone to a geometric claim? You're not. So there's people out there who are latching onto this, who are not giving it any thought, new people and different things, and they think they've reached some kind of new level of understanding and wisdom and enlightenment. You haven't. You've actually gone down, not up, because you don't understand the thing that you think you're fighting against.
We experience this all the time in debate. So when we do the gas pressure, and the antecedent is a container, and we cite everything, including NASA, saying that they have to use their logic and reason to say, you know what, you're right, but they don't. So what they do is say, okay, well, what if there's some kind of bubbles up there that keep the gases in next to that vacuum? It's like, where did you pull that one out of? So back to what D. Rose and refractive curvature were saying is that rather than concede, they just keep rambling on because they realize the gas pressure argument destroyed everything about outer space, but they can't concede, so they just ramble on. Now, do that to every topic in our arena. That's what keeps
Right. Exactly, like the Simon Dan response to Nathan, where he says, "You and your reference frames are ruined." It's ad absurdum. You destroyed your own claim as well, trying to debunk Nathan. Really?
Precisely. I was waiting for somebody else to agree with it, but yeah, I agree.
No, yeah, I agree. I was doing something. But that's all they do.
I'm sorry,
It's
my
almost
kid was
like
flipping.
you could burn them at the stake, and they'd be like, "It's not hot. It's not hot." Until they burn to a crisp. Their last words will be like, "Oh." They're taught, stick to the game. Do not digress. Do not redact. Stick to the game. You can tell the ones that are really trained and that are out there to do this oppositional game back and forth with us. And then you can tell the ones who are honestly trying to figure out, because they start to show and express, even in their text, a sort of a digressing or type of, like, not concession, but like a, you know what, I never thought about it like that. I'm gonna have to do some more research. But the ones that keep coming back with these ridiculous, absurd, like he said, absurdum rebuttals, they're hilarious. And I don't deal with them. I block them. I just shut them down like I did. Y'all read my tell. I put a dissertation. I was like, first of all, I'm gonna jump off the jump. I'm gonna tell you, you're a liar. You know why I know you're a liar? Because this, that. Had got no reply from them. Somebody else had to come out. Guy named Mustard said, "Chill out." I'm done with them. I'm done with. I ain't got time.
If you don't, if in sales, if you don't qualify your appointments, you're going to be wasting your time. You might be with the wrong audience. They don't even need your product. So, the same sense, if you don't want to waste your time, you have to qualify who you're going to talk these subjects with. I try to get them to get into the paradigm of, okay, if you present evidence to me, I'm not going to deny it. I have to get them to say that to me somehow. Like, are you going to use logic and reason through and at the end to make a decision based on our conversation, or are you going to parrot the stuff that we were indoctrinated with? Which one are you? Because before I start, because I've had people come and say, "I hear you're a flat earther," and I go, "We all are," and they go, "Ha ha ha," and I go, "Look, I'll discuss the topic with you, but I need to know if you're going to use your logic and your reason so that when a lie is outed, you're able to see it. Or are you going to parrot what you've been taught? Which one of these people are you?" If they don't answer properly, I'm not going to talk to them. It's a waste of time.
Right.
I mean, you bring the gas pressure without container, and instead of them conceding and saying, "Thank you very much for opening my eyes to this lie," they jump to gravity. Then they jump to this, and they keep jumping. I go, "Wait a minute, I just killed 4 of your pillars for your globe Earth. 4 points are just destroyed, and you're jumping to the next one? You're like a dead man thinking you're alive still."
Well, could
But
I
it's
just
worse
add
than
something
that.
It's worse than that.
It's worse than that. This guy initiated the conversation saying, "Hey, I jumped out of a plane 16,000 feet and I didn't saw no curve. Can somebody explain that? There's no curve." Okay. Well, I had lunch with the Sasquatch on Saturday, and he didn't eat meat. Can somebody explain why Sasquatch is not real? It's like we're supposed to fall on that sword. And that's why somebody came back and had on their thing, bait. That was just a bait. That was just an asinine statement so that he can grab bait to try to lure somebody in to go back and forth and waste precious time of their life talking to an idiot. So I just cut him off. I said, "You're a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar because I've been higher and lower. We've all been higher and lower, and I know many people that don't vouch for any curve. So you explain that. But I know why
You know
you're
what I
here.
thought you were
I
going
know
to
why
say?
you're here.
You know what I thought you were going to say, D. Rose? You're a liar because I am Sasquatch and I don't remember having lunch with you.
But what I find interesting from listening to today's show, is the fact that Neil deGrasse Tyson is trying to push something that our opposition here on the internet, on YouTube, have been trying to push for years. And just like Danny Faulkner, when push came to shove, he had to turn to one of them numpties to get some kind of a backup for his claims. Right, so he went to Blue Marble Science. It seems to me that the upper echelon of heliocentrism are having to turn to these people for some kind of an argument or some kind of a direction to take things, keep their model alive. But how is that going to work out for them in the future? Because there's going to be people within academia who are going to go, no. They're going to be heliocentrists. They're not going to be flat earthers. They're going to go, no, you can't mix Einstein's field equations with Newton's three-dimensional maths. Can't do that. They're going to say that. They're going to point out that can't be done. So it's going to cause infighting within their own world, because we know that the arguments that are coming at us from our opposition here on the internet are crazy arguments based on just a lack of logical thought, a lack of humility. That's all they're based on. So the argument will have mutated 10 times within 5 years. You know, they won't stop mutating arguments and changing them, and kind of like what we see people who are claiming to be flat earthers do as well. You know, with it.
Nathan, sorry, Brian. Nathan, are you going to do the next video? It's only 2 minutes, 45 seconds long.
No, we'll do it tomorrow. All I'm doing now is stressing out the computer by playing a computer game on it to make it hopefully fail. So, no, we'll do that tomorrow. For now, I'm happy that we're chatting,
but,
and I'm happy that the computer hasn't crashed.
But to continue what you said, that's why I had said before, if y'all remember, and I said, granted, what they're saying may be all speculative and a bunch of what ifs and da-da-da, which really hold no ground on the debate issue. But by Banjo, you know, Eddie Banjo and all them, and Taboo, by them showing that you can see the spread of the, I would say, acceptance or confirmation and affirmation for those who had a feeling that the globe narrative was bullcrap. You could see it spreading. You could see that the most unintellectual person that doesn't really know the details like this panel does, still going after and attacking the lie in any fashion that they can, whether it's by using the scriptures or whether by using the ice, anything they can use that they've been doing their own thing because of their own speculation that this is not right. This is not right. That right there is evident that the opposition, no matter who they send out, is getting beat down badly to the point where they have to be so obviously and blatantly ridiculous to assert their arguments that they don't even care that they trip over their own words. They just need to do anything desperately to try to keep that freaking bridge standing, but it's going to collapse. It's collapsing now. The foundation is breaking down. Trust me. I'm witnessing with my own eyes. We just don't witness it because we see so many stronghold idiots on here coming out, seem like they're coming out the woodworks. But I guarantee they're using sock accounts or they're doing something because there can't be that too many dum-dums left on the earth.
Well, we have members of our opposition here online trying to set up wiki-type pages to try and dox people and all this kind of stuff. It's pathetic that they're at that point, but that's where
desperation.
They're at a point where
Desperation.
it's really personal with them. But I do find it interesting that it's, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be wrong. I think that we have the higher echelon of heliocentrism actually turning to the lower echelon of heliocentrism for advice and arguments. Because if they come out to anyone, even a bad flat earther or a new flat earther, with some of their arguments, they will look bad even publicly at this point. You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson trying to claim things, even like if he sticks to absolute heliocentric rhetoric and doesn't deflect from that. Even someone who's a new flat earther would cause him problems because he's stuck within that. He's stuck within that paradigm that he can't move out of.
They can't even, especially someone who's a frequent listener to this show and knows the argument somewhat. They lose from the very beginning because they don't have an R value. Everything that they talk about thereafter, I just say, let's get back to the thing you need to prove to say the thing you're saying now. So you want to talk about this, that's great, but you still haven't proven your R value, Earth curve, Earth curvature, your physical geometric horizon that blocks the bottoms of boats and buildings. That is your claim. That is from your Earth curve calculator maths. So if that is not true, what are we doing talking beyond that point? Let's get back to that. Show me Earth curve where it's supposed to be based on your math, based on a globe of a radius of 3959. I'm showing you the black swan. I'm showing you other black swans. It's moving. It's got wheels. It's here one day. It's there another day. How could that be? You got a physical Earth that's stretching, like as you show, Brian, in your videos. They just make it flatter and flatter. The more they see, they just make the Earth flatter and flatter. 20 over 6R, 100 over 6R. We've never even seen 6 over 6R. It's below water level. I mean, it's like it's over right there. Why let go?
Yeah.
Why talk about anything else?
Yeah, and technically,
and guess what? Tent and Brian. On top of that, back to what Brian was saying. This is chess. Chess represents the battle between two kingdoms. We are on their playing field with their tools, with their methodology, bringing it to them, using their own weapons, and we're conquering them. And what they're doing is they're saving their queens and their kings by not allowing whatever's name, Dan, you know, whatever the guy is, you know, the Nassau guy. They're not letting I used to know his name. They're not letting all the elites go up against our side, so they send out their pawns. See, in the game of chess, let them get slayed. They didn't even send out their knights because they don't have any knights. But even though you would consider Farina Catchild, Dave Farina, he would be like, maybe I would say he's a knight because he's one of the most wealthiest earnings guy out there that they got on the team. But at the end of the day, they're preserving, they're saving their kings and their queens because they know if they bring their kings and queens on the battlefield, it's over. Game is over because their most influential will be made fools of. So that's why they send these little pawns after us.
Well, what's happening to them, though, is now their kings and queens are turning to their pawns for arguments and ways of dealing with us. Because we have no need now. Like, we don't have any need to chase down Neil deGrasse Tyson. For instance, I have no need to chase him down for a public debate because the time is coming where one of us or more than one of us flat earthers, him and the others are going to have to publicly address us somehow. Because it only makes his position stronger when you try and chase him down. I have no need to chase him down.
You're right, because we could concede every point they make, and they still require a flat plane in order to make the point they're trying to make. It is beyond argument. It's over.
Precisely.
Exactly.
Quick shout
And
out.
just
Sorry, just one sec. Shout out to Jake Man, who says, "What's up, folks?" Sky, but thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
yeah, well, if you go, what Tent mentioned earlier on about what I was making in one of my videos, what I showed in one of my videos, there is the 31-mile observation from 1 foot elevation height by BLMSB 69 in 2020 or 21, and for them to explain just the distance. Now, remember, it's a distance issue, just the distance to that horizon. They have to claim not 7 over 6 or 3,845 over 6 hours. And that still is taking place within their model. It's only a distance to the horizon, because within their model, that's still happening below surface level. So all that's still happening. Yeah. Well,
That's one of the reasons, because he done all of his calculations on a flat plane, and what they call the Earth curve calculator. That's one of the reasons I was wanting to make a video on that, because it's a flat plane horizon calculator. It's not it only accounts for the Rayleigh criterion, has nothing to do with weather, refraction, anything like that. So even their moronic claim of terrestrial refraction needs a flat Earth.
Well, the refraction argument is all they got. And it's not even an argument, because obviously if it's refracted, how'd you ever measure it? But let's go back to the people that they were putting up onto the altars who didn't know about refraction. Okay, did Eratosthenes in his story, whether he was real or not, the shadow from the pole, was there refraction in that, to where he thought it was 7.2 degrees from Alexandria and Cyan and all these things fit in? And okay, so by that shadow, and assuming the Earth is a ball, and assuming sun rays come in parallel, this, I just need to times that 50 times, and I'll get the circumference of the Earth. And then you got Al-Biruni, who didn't even know about refraction in his story, and he's the one that did the dip angle to the horizon, and he was very close to the same number. So here are people on their side that didn't even know about refraction, use refraction, possibly made up stories anyway. And then now today, when we challenge it and say you need an elevation angle and you need a flat plane, a baseline to even get an angle, refraction, everything's refraction. It's like, wait a minute, what does that mean even? What is refraction? What kind of refraction are you talking about? What's the different medium that star or luminary is going into? Am I measuring it underwater? Did it go underwater and that's when I took the angle measurement? Or is it still in the air?
Well, yeah, that goes to my point, because their refraction is only widening the plane, right? And extending out the distance to the horizon on a flat plane.
Correct.
From one of those elevation heights and the flat plane, you would draw an orthographic view at that height.
So summarizing what you're saying right now is, look, Earth curve should be there, but because of refraction, it's further out. So I just made the Earth flatter.
Well, no. There is no Earth curve. The Earth's not curving. You're taking a bunch of different flat planes stacked upon each other, and you're,
agreed.
misinterpreting the mathematics.
No, I know. I agree with you. John, I agree with you, but I'm saying they would respond that way.
Oh, yeah, because they're misinterpreting the mathematics. It's wrong. What they're saying is wrong because they don't understand the math. Ain't that funny? We're the mathematically morons in their eyes,
when you had your debate with McToon and was it Ruhiff? I can't remember. Was it Ruhiff at the time?
Yeah.
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 You conceded every point. The only thing you said was what? Can you reiterate that? Because you said, look, I'll give you everything. Go do whatever you want to do. I thought that was the best.
Yeah, I said that everything that we talk about will require a elevation angle and a flat plane to measure, or will require a geometric horizon that's been debunked. Everything will revolve around that and those 2 points.
Can I point out something that I tried to point out in the past concerning this issue? And I don't think I got my point across. It was a good while back. You know, Al-Biruni. Al-Biruni, the claim was that he measured, right, to a geometric horizon. That would mean a globe's geometric horizon. That would mean that he measured to whatever his observer height was, 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. So whatever his observer height, that's what he would have had to. That's basically what he was the claim is based around, right? It would have to match that, because that's what is based off of that claim, right? So one has to match the other, right? Now, the problem is, the reason they state, this is why that would be absolutely impossible for him to even make the claim. Because what you're talking about there is a claim of, the starting point is a claim of distance to an horizon, right? But that would be impossible, because even if you take the current claims, which is that there is a standard amount of what they call refraction, which is not refraction, is just mathematical, of 7/6R, right? That means there is never not 7/6R and more than 7/6R, greater than 7/6R. There is always at least 7/6R, right? The reason they make that claim is because you will never see an horizon of foregoing fog and stuff, right? But under normal everyday conditions, you will never see an horizon where it would need to be mathematically, just as a distance now, not talking about curved water, just as a distance, where it would need to be mathematically for it to match the distance, a geometric horizon would have to be from you if we're on a globe. You'll never observe that, just that horizon, just the distance, just even horizontally. You won't observe that, a foregoing fog. You will never observe that.
Quick shout out to Jokerman, who says, God bless England. And also another super chat from Jokerman, who says, just because I told you so. Well, thank you very much for the super chats. Really appreciate the support. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to today's Discord, G+, and Matrix panels for making the live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Isn't so close to you that it matches their maths. They know this. That's why they have to say it's always refracted. They know it's never, ever, ever going to be where they need it to be.
Yeah, because what they're calling a Earth curve calculator is a flat Earth horizon angle calculator, and they've co-opted our stuff. I'd like to take that one back so they can't have it no more.
I always say,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's refractive curvature, John, or was it Brian or Tim? Man, somebody said a long time ago, mathematics, they were breaking down that it's not anything even close to scientific, and it also is applied to abstract, unrealistic, fantastical things. And one of the greatest examples was, I forget who said it, but I always reiterate this when I make that point. If you had 2 apples and I took 5 from you, what does that leave you? That whole mathematical equation is impossible in reality, because you can't take 5 apples from somebody that only has 2, number one. And you can never be left with -3 apples. But math is applied to it. So does math denote all reality? No. So why do they even think that they can try to say that math is their backup to prove as evidence for their claims. Right there, that's them again kicking themselves in the mouth.
The game is so over because of the refined arguments here, because it's really just about experience that each of us have with our eyeballs, and that's bottom-up obstruction. Now, once you can show that bottom-up obstruction happens on the plane and not because something's curving over, and that's what the black swan does. It just shows that the whole sphere and the radius and all that, and the distance of the bottom-up obstruction being 1.22 miles from the observer's height. Once that's debunked, well, that's out of the question. It's not Earth curve anymore. So what is it? Now you get into the Rayleigh criteria, and you see, hey, that bottom brick I can't see from 10 miles out, but I see all the bricks stacked on top of it because it's a high rise. And as I walk towards it, I get to see more and more. Well, that's the angular resolution with a limited deck. It's a deck. It's so obvious. We've proven it with tabletops and coins. It's.
I actually.
Go on.
Sorry, Ted. Sorry, I cut in on you at the end. I was being a bit too selfish. When you start talking about limited angle, I posted a video last night, Nathan, and I linked it to you. It's from AB Science from 4 years ago. This will be prior Black Swan. And he's attacking Nathan on his angle of attack argument that Nathan used to make when it came to observing things along a horizontal plane and how the bottom of those things can appear to start to disappear. And it's only like a 3-minute video or something, 4-minute video at most. But within the video, he shows himself looking down he shows a camera view down this long hallway with a kind of a glassy floor on the hallway, that kind of glassy sheen on the floor. And you're seeing this big long hallway. And then what he does is he goes through some nonsense and attacks Nathan personally, kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. And then he places a magazine on the floor, and he says he puts a laser pointer on top of the magazine, but he says you can't see the laser pointer. And then he shows himself standing up, looking at the magazine on the floor, right? So his angle is down, looking across the top of the magazine. And then he brings his camera down to what he says is ground level, which is close. It's not really that close, but it's down off the ground, let's just say. And he says, see, you can still see the magazine. But he's like, after cutting out about over 2/3 of the length of the hallway. So he didn't go and do it where he, in the position he was, like originally, when he showed you the first photograph. He showed you this first photograph of this big long hallway, and then he does this little demonstration in about 10 foot of hallway, and in a hallway that's like 60 feet long or something. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's like, what are you doing? That's such a fraud. You know what I mean? He said, see, I can still see the magazine, and it's 10 feet away from him. Of course you can see the magazine. It's only 10 feet.
Well, they have to do something, Brian. I mean, it's
again,
this argument that
desperation.
someone's going to just can't. Well, go on, D-Rose.
It's from 4 years ago, actually,
It's
D-Rose.
desperation. It's desperation.
Yeah, but this is 4 years ago. This is the best that he could do 4 years ago. This is the thing. It's like they've always been desperate, and that's why they're like, which one of us? Someone chime in now if they are this way. Which one of us has been taken up of ways to dox all the borders, all the main borders? It has never crossed my mind to ever do anything like that. Yet that's where we have people like McToon. That's where he's at, trying to set up wiki pages, fandom pages, to try and dox as many people, well-known people in the flat-out arena as possible. Like, why would you be doing that if you had an argument to make? That only states, I have nothing. That's what that states to me. It's like, if that's where you're at, it means you've got nothing if you're trying to just dox a load of people online.
Well, you do that. You do that because we got you on the videos saying that elevation angles are right angle triangles, and it allows for triangulation as you stutter and try to say, well, I guess it does work that way. Well, Your whole show just got destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, when John went on to his show for the debate with Ruhif, and John was sat there for 25 minutes while Ruhif used every trick in the book that he could to try and make his argument sound somewhat feasible. And John stayed quiet. John opened his mouth and said 4 words, and both McTown and Ruhif were down his throat. Literally, he didn't even get a sentence out. You know what I mean? So that's how desperate they are.
And check
Oh,
this
they
out. When it
attacked
comes to
John. They hang on, Heroes. They attacked John personally, and that's when John left because he says, "I'm not going to sit here for that." That's just obviously he should have left. Go on, Heroes.
exactly, and there's levels of desperation, and I'm not saying it can get to that, but let's just for the record, for everybody to hear, Original D Rose is not suicidal. Nobody on this panel is suicidal. In case somebody start disappearing people because the resistance is too strong for the power's narrative. I'm just putting it on the record. Nathan's not suicidal, so we don't want to hear no stories that we hear through the grapevine or hear some reports about self-inflicted injuries or suicides made upon people who went up against this globe thing. We're just telling the truth. Handle it. I know y'all desperate, but for the record, we love our families, our lives, and like Nathan said the other day, we're living our best life, living in truth. So there's no
So they
reason
could
for us
never
to.
do it.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. They could never do it because it would have such a magnified martyr effect. They would never do that. They just pay and bribe more petty people to spout out nonsense and then prioritize them. That's their strategy. They're never gonna actually because that would like make us 1,000 times more powerful. They could never afford that ever.
Yeah, even mentioning that though, D Rose is putting us in a kind of a marker position or a conspiracy theorist type position where, you know what I mean? The public won't, I wouldn't even go into that. I wouldn't even address that. Not even like what you just said there. I'd never say. Never.
Okay, because
you'd require mainstream power. You'd require like being in everybody's face, and they can't remove you. Right? That's when you might risk something like that. We're just a channel on YouTube, right? Nobody officially knows us, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. We don't matter to them.
Gotcha.
I don't think that's true either. We do matter, but the way to combat us isn't to off us or suicide us. The way to combat us is to have paid shills. Now, when everyone was calling everyone out to paid shills, there weren't any, right? But now there are. The paid shills are Dave McKeegan, Simon Dan, Professor Dave Explains. Those are paid shills. So they make a video about Flat Earth, immediately gets a load of views, and obviously the monetization then pays them. And they are incentivized to make more. And what do you know? The ones they make more make even more views. Every single person that's looking at this subject is directed towards them, so they make all the money. Well, therefore getting paid. It's pretty obvious why people like Dave McKeegan come along and go, whoa, check it out. My most popular video is about Flat Earth. I'm going to make another one. Why wouldn't you? That's the normal psychology. If you're looking for a video subject and you make 3 different videos, one of them blows up, you're going to go, what was that video about? Oh, that video was about Flat Earth and how stupid it is. I'll make another 10. They're paid shills. Those are the paid shills.
They're kind of Manchurian candidates in a way because they don't even realize they're paid shills.
Yeah. Oh, they're useful idiots. Absolutely useful idiots, but it doesn't alter what they are. Paid shills.
I think D Rose deeply was trying to say he may be a flat earther, but he's not a flatliner.
They're paid to put up a wall, a barrier between somebody's interest in this subject and the reality of this subject. That's what they're paid to do. And they do it. So the other day I was talking, somebody accused Phil Bell of being a shill. And I was like, well, yeah, he's a shill for the globe. He is shilling when you look at what a shill does for the globe. That is what he's doing. And then when you look at somebody who does the exact same thing like Simon Dan and they're paid to do it, incentivized by money to do it by YouTube. Well, YouTube's paying shills to shill for the globe and shill for anti-flat Earth. That is all there is to it. So back in the day when everyone was saying, "You show me one paid shill," okay, Simon Dan's a paid shill. He shills for the globe and he's paid to do it.
And for the listening audience, Nathan, could you spell that word? Because sometimes it sounds like you're saying chill, then shill, SH or CH.
SH.
For those who may not have heard that or saw that term.
Shill. The guy who at a 3-card Monty stand is not at the stand. He's standing slightly away from the stand. And as someone walks past and starts showing interest, he walks over, starts playing the game, and wins. And says, "Oh, this is a great game. Just won $20. That's a shill." Right? He gets the cut. He gets paid to be there, to win the game, so that the people around him think, "Oh, that's a good game. Look out, that guy just won." Or alternatively, another guy who's not actually going to play the game, that's further down the street, that walks along the street counting out money, going, "I just won on 3-card Monty." That's another paid shill. Shilling for you to go, "What's 3-card Monty?" and then walk up further and see another guy playing and winning. Shills.
Hey, sorry I'm late. How's it going out there?
What's up? Beautiful explanation, Nathan. Beautiful. That was accurate.
Well, thank you. Well, I guess you're doing well. I do want to bring up, deGrasse Tyson, and when he said, how long ago was this video? 4 years ago? I think I know where we got the Baltards inept claim that they can turn Einstein's field equations into Newtonian. Under any conditions, I really don't care. Number one, he's going to have to show that. And number two, if that were the case, then Einstein's field equations would debunk special relativity. Just wanted to add that.
I think John did point that out in terms of the John pointed that out. The other refracted curvature also said that during the live show, John. Yes, absolutely.
Did he?
And he did. And also, I think I said something similar in terms of he needs to show that, right? If he's making that as a claim, because someone came after and said, "Oh no, but he just got all wishy-washy and vague afterwards." Doesn't matter. He made it as a claim, and then started to veer away from his own claim quickly. Doesn't matter. He said the two maths were interchangeable or worked with each other or could be diluted down if you reduce the speed and reduce the gravity. Okay? Show us that. It doesn't matter if it's in maths or otherwise, just show us it.
No, I want to see it in the equations.
That's what I mean.
He's basically saying that. That's what all the... how many times have we heard knucklejackers come in here and say, well, Einstein's field equations reduced down to Newtonian? That's where they got that from, right there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's probably the origin of that numpty dipshit statement that you can dilute one into the other. You can't. They're in different geometries.
Yep. How many times we go through that? Remember Rumpus was in there. He started playing that shit. Show the equations. Show it. Not only him, but every single one. Turned into a shit show and then ran away.
Would that be akin to my moped being now a 911 Porsche when I do the math?
No. It's like the chair being able to be sat on the canvas. You can't have the chair in a 3-dimensional sense be sat on when it's a painting of one because it's a 2-dimensional painting. Well, in the same way, you can't dilute down a bending geodesic in a 4th dimension in a Newtonian 3-dimensional geometry because there is no 4th dimension to bend or describe black holes in or any of those other things that come directly from the 4th dimensional aspect introduced by Einstein. The two are completely incompatible in every way, shape, and form. They cannot be mathematicized together, derived from each other, advanced into each other. It doesn't work. Because in the same way as you can't sit on a chair on a canvas because it's 2-dimensional, you can't describe 3-dimensional Euclidean geometry with an extra dimension that isn't existent in that geometry. It's not possible.
Did you say the video was 4 years old, Nathan?
QE said it was 4 years old. I didn't actually check the date on it, but do you want me to?
Yeah, because I was thinking earlier that he's actually getting that nonsense from the ballers. That, Neil deGrasse Tyson
really?
is taking
Oh,
that nonsense
right.
from
You think
them.
Tyson's taking his cues from the numpty dipshits who he deal with? No, Brian. No.
That's a twist. That's possible.
No.
That is
I
Just
think it
no.
might
Just
be.
no.
Well, let me give you an example of that actually happening. What's his name? The astronomer. What's his name? PhD, who turned to blue marble science when he was supposed to prove gas
Danny.
pressure without a container.
Danny Faulkner.
Yeah, he did that.
And
More than 4 years ago.
Well, I'm saying he did that. That's my point. The point is that these people who are PhDs in that, are they likely to be turning to our online opposition for information?
I understand what you're saying. That's an example of them doing that, yes. But do we have somebody other than Neil deGrasse Tyson more than 4 years ago say that numpty dipshit?
Well, I don't know if it's 4 years old, the video. I don't know if that video is 4 years old.
I'm saying the video. No, listen to what. Didn't you follow that? The video.
Oh, sorry, now I know what you mean. Yeah,
the video is 4 years ago. Now, to prove your claim, this particular claim is true, you're going to have to find one of the window lickers saying this before 4 years ago. Follow?
Wait,
I
is
know what
this
you mean,
video
yeah.
from Neil deGrasse Tyson 4 years old? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Oh, damn
I
it.
didn't think
Then
it was that
Fight the
old.
Flat Earth obviously got it from him, not the other way around.
Well, who said it was 4 years old, that video?
I did. I'm looking at it right now. It says 4 years ago.
Okay, then I was wrong. Then no, they got it from him. You're correct. I thought that was a newer video.
No, that doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily the case. If you can find somebody, and I think I possibly could, one of the skank and file knuckle draggers, bring that topic up for Neil deGrasse Tyson here did it, then you have a case.
Well,
hold on,
Nobody-
Brian. Hold on.
no,
Just one
Fight
sec.
the Flat
Just one
Earth
sec.
talked
Just one
about
sec.
this-
Just one sec.
sorry.
Hold on.
It's just a
Hold
year.
on. I think what QE is saying is he's not essentially or necessarily claiming he knows this is the origin of this numpty dipshittery. He's just saying today, 4 years is the oldest he could presumably cite for a reference of the origin of the claim that the two different geometries are interchangeable, an advancement of one another, whatever, right? He's saying this is the earliest he's seen to date. Now, it'd be nice if there was, I don't know, a Carl Sagan reference that you could go back to and say, here's Sagan saying Newtonian mechanics works in Einsteinian fourth dimensions. You know, that'd be handy right now. But to date, this is as early as it gets, right, QE?
Yeah, I'm saying not Carl Sagan. I'm saying one of the knuckle dragon window lickers saying it before Tyson has said it.
It's just anybody saying it before him. It doesn't matter if it's a window
Interstellar
licker
brought
or
it up
Hold on.
2010.
Hold on. I just got to disagree with you. Who cares? It doesn't matter who. It could be somebody of stature or a numpty dipshit. It doesn't matter, so long as it predates Tyson.
Yeah.
No. Because Brian's claim is that the numpty dipshits, he got that off the numpty dipshits, not one of his colleagues.
Yeah, I don't care about Brian's claim. I'm just saying this is the earliest origin of this particular statement.
Right. Fair enough.
Okay, you've got a different
Yes, you
focus to
can.
me. That's fine. Yeah, to justify Brian's statement that he got it from the numpty dipshits, but he's already relinquished that. He said he thought it was a lot more recent.
Would it be fair to say? Would it be fair to say, real quick, Brian, that in 1915 it superseded, but somewhere between there and this video, is there someone saying what Tyson's saying in this video?
Well, I could say by memory, I can't prove it, but by memory, I do remember people like Rumpus and Ruhiff and that making that claim prior to 2019, which would be 4 years ago. I remember them arguing at that point.
Now you're taking back up the claim you just relinquished. Okay.
Well, but yeah, based on what QE on the specifications that QE laid out, he said, is there a numpty or is there someone in our opposition here online making that claim prior to 2019, basically, is what he said. Because that video was from 4 years ago, which is 2019, according to YouTube.
No, Rumpus did not say that. He did not say they were compatible.
I'm pretty sure he did say that. Because he did say that,
No,
and he
not
actually was held to
Rumpus.
task.
Others might have.
He did. He
Rumpus
was held to
did.
task on the show here. He was held to task on it. He was supposed to do the maths, and he ran away. He was held to task on it one day.
Anthony,
Come
hey,
on,
I
guys.
do remember that
What?
actually.
No,
Now,
that's
hold on,
that's
hold on.
terrestrial refraction.
No, hold on, just 1 second, Owen. I do actually remember that was Anthony that set him that task, was it not, Brian?
No, it was me first. Well, I can't say it was definitely me first, but I remember the point being made that I was asking for evidence for how the tides work within general relativity, because there is no force of attraction between the moon and the tides.
No, you say it a couple of weeks before Anthony brought it up. I do vaguely remember you bringing it up as well.
Because I brought up the whole astronaut moon landing thing back at that point as well, about how they're using a force of gravity for the moon landings and footage, whereas that's not general relativity. I was kind of on that train at the time.
Well, if you could find that video, that would be a chore. With Rumpus in here, and we were destroying him with that. I'd be interested in that.
I wouldn't. I mean, even if he did, let's say we found that someone trawled through debates number 400 to 700 to find that, right? And they found it. Okay. So who is Rumpus, and what credit is he? What stature does he hold? What influence does he hold?
That's red herring fallacy. We're just trying to find whether he did it before Tyson did. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that Tyson got it from Rumpus or whoever. That's a fair point.
Yeah, I was looking for more worth in it than we're back to Brian's claim that the numpties got it from the numpties. Yeah, fine.
But can I say this? It would show that the narratives are being followed by the higher uppers, passed down or passed up. Whoever want to say who's dictating the narrative. If there's a chronological similarity within months or weeks or days or whatever, and they're saying the same stuff, then that can prove that that narrative is so relevant that even the higher ups would coincidentally be saying the same thing as the who the hell is a rumpus idiot? Get it?
Well, I don't know about all this, but I know what Nathan just did a few minutes ago is the next thing I'm going to do. Next time I go into a house and I see a painting of a chair on a canvas, I'm going to say, can I sit on that painting?
That wasn't
It's
what I was
start a
suggesting
great conversation.
That's not what I was suggesting anybody do, but yes, that's one way to bastardize my correlation between juxtapositions of three-dimensional Euclidean space versus fourth-dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space.
Not to sit on the painting. That's ridiculous. To sit on the chair.
No, that's what I mean. Sit on your chair in the painting on a two-dimensional canvas, and I'm going to sit on it, and it's going to help me frame the conversation, I think.
Yeah, they do it. They do that fast and loose trick with dimensionality when they're describing our 2D playing card man would have been split in half if he had a stomach. But you can conceptualize as a 2D playing card how a three-dimensional man would be physically represented, even if you're existing only in 2 dimensions. You go, oh, well, that's a relatively fast and loose way of saying a 2-dimensional being, which is something that doesn't exist, can experience 3-dimensionality. Therefore, you as a 3-dimensional being can experience 4D space-time when you conceptualize this graph that's shown in 3-dimensionality on a 2D screen. Okay, well, I can do that too, can't I? So we can imagine sitting on the chair with the mathematics of Newton. No, we can't.
Yeah. But you missed my subtle pun.
Did I?
No, we didn't.
What was it?
You said that so you'd frame it.
Thank you. You don't miss anything.
We just did
just hang in there longer. There'll be more.
Yeah, I know.
I wanted to mention
You
something
just think you're jumping the pun, Tenth.
All right, so
I
and all
wanted to
this
mention
excitement
something about.
come by on
Sorry.
this. Don't forget about Mortimer and his 7-part series. Just want to say, I mean, it's fun to go back to Neil deGrasse Tyson, but it's getting a little lame. We need some new meat. Then you can go back to Neil, but don't forget about Mortimer. I gave you those 7 series of videos. Don't forget about that. All right.
You'll have to speak to my public relations manager, 10th man.
We'll do Mortimer. Just there's two following videos on the same subject that are different than Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse, I wanted to be the first after watching it, and I found two others, which is going to be on the same topic from a different channel. So this is a series of three, and Nathan's only
That
one
doesn't
of them.
supersede Mortimer. I was way before with Mortimer.
You want more? That's fine. Post Mortimer. Once
Well,
he's done
where
this,
were
we'll
you?
do Mortimer.
Where were you when 10th Man wasn't here?
He wasn't. He was on vacation or something. He'd eating potatoes with freaking Brian or something.
And you were Johnny on the spot with Mortimer, weren't you? While he wasn't here.
Hey, if we can address something, because there's this. I'm not making it concrete, sketched in stone, affirmed. I'm just saying. This Tartarian civilization that had free energy, lived off of free energy but they keep using this word, the ether, instead of just stating that we know electricity is everywhere. Electricity exists everywhere. You can tell it by when you touch somebody. Oh, you shocked me. That's the proof that. But this ether thing is still being pumped as part of we don't even know if the Tartarians believed in ether because none of them are alive to say that. And I don't know any books that says they do, but if they do.
Hold on. Everybody's got an objection, I'm sure. Everybody wants to take a piece of that.
Concentrate on the Tartarians.
Hold on, D-Rose. Hold on. You're going to get a lot of objections. There was a lot to unpackage there. Initially, your first statement about what the Tartarians are. Do you want to repeat that very first statement? We'll go from there.
You want me to you want to me reiterate it, or you
only the
you
very
wanna break
first
it down?
statement you made about the Tartarians specifically?
Oh, well,
about their free energy.
I just said, yeah. Well, I'm just saying there's this things floating around that in the 1800s, the 19th century, 17th to the 18th century, that these cathedral buildings and everything that we see with these copper roofs with these
That's not what I asked for. A typical Tartarian response from D-Rose. No. I just wanted you to repeat the statement about the Tartarians. G-Rose, you're rumpusing me. Number one, existing. Number two, having free energy. Those two statements. Those are the first that you brushed past, and now you're justifying them rather than repeating them.
Yeah, you're mixing up antiquitech, which is a modern idea about these devices of the past, and the actual empire or people or nation that it was supposedly Tartaria. Right?
Okay,
which probably
I guess
is something about.
Let's just have the first statement.
That was good hyper specificity on those two things. But I didn't want everybody to concentrate on that. But I know how we do. Somebody throw out something. Hey, stop right there. Clarify. I get it.
You have a statement at some point.
Yeah. He's non-secretary away nicely though, isn't he? He's doing a good job.
Try it. You're not going to squiggle, son.
You can wiggle all you like, D-Rose. We're going to need that. We're going to need that first statement again.
Huh?
We're going to need that first statement. The one about the free energy and the Tartarians' existence.
Pick one first.
I'm going to have to.
Pick which one you're going to defend first. Let's start with Tartarians before we decide what special powers.
Paraphrases. Pick a cross. Pick a hill. Chop chop.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know much about the Tartarian Empire except what I've heard from other sources. So I don't even stand on it whether, to give any details about it. But if they existed, which I see the pictures that show some type of, human beings standing around, and mostly that, in the Tartarian Empire, it was pretty broad. It expanded, a wide region. But anyway,
your statement, please.
The statement was, why, when it comes to electricity and energy, why does it always have to be correlated with ether? That was the point I was trying to get to.
That was the point you were trying to make. That wasn't your first statement.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
Yeah, I know.
Your first statement was about us having Tartarians and them having free energy, and then the question arose after that statement about why that would be connected to ether.
The simple answer is just an old way of describing things, D-Rose, you see. So when they're talking about it, in that kind of context, it's from the ether. They're not presupposing a magical power. They're just saying it's from the air. It's a colloquial term in that sense. I wouldn't, when you're talking about some of these. Now, if you go to Martin Leaker, yes, he may well be linking it, but I think certainly in a lot of the stuff, it's a recognition of It's not free energy from the ether. It's harnessing atmospheric energy, is what they're postulating. Well, that's not free. It's there. You're not taking it from. You're not creating it from nothing. You're just harnessing powers of nature. And there's a hell of a lot of presupposition that a church spire means it was lit up at night through this magic power source. I think that's highly contentious and part of a myth, myth that's being built right now.
It's like the difference between feng shui and actual electrical power, right? I mean, well, how do you know they literally harnessed electricity like that, or they were just going feng shui basically in their own way?
Chi. Hold on.
Arranging
means chi. Hold on. Everyone stop. Everyone stop. Arwin means chi, as opposed to the art of moving furniture around to feel nice.
Well, if you're gonna appoint a substance, but I'm just talking about it might be a mistake to say it's literal electrical harnesses like a power plant. It might be of a different nature. So chi, then I guess.
I get it.
Okay.
Or they could have just had batteries or they could have just had electricity and batteries. Yeah. Battery power has been around for a very, very, very long time for the Egyptians, isn't it? So is it possible that these pictures we see of lit up nights that they had rudimentary thing that maybe Edison doesn't deserve all the credit he gets? Yeah, these sorts. It confuses me when you look at pictures like that do contradict certain timelines, but the way to solve them is to invent magical powers and magical civilizations. I think it goes too far.
I guess. Well, okay. Well, let me say it. Whether I like what Adam, was that Adam or Brian that just said that about the go back as far.
Sure, it was Adam.
Before chocolate. It was Adam. Even when you go back as far, shut up. Even if you go back as far as the Egyptian technology or even the Sumerians and all that, and they, of course, we don't have photographs back then. They have nothing but illustrations and animation, whatever. But so I like what he said. Why give the Tartarian Empire that credit? And number two, whether Egyptologists brag about this or people who are pro-Tartarian, they always use that colloquial term. They got their energy from the ether. They always do that. And I understand that it's like you said, a colloquial, term that everybody can understand.
Who said that? Who are they? Who are they that are saying this?
Oh, it's YouTubers, TikTokers, you name it. People that make videos.
Name some names. Who are you talking about? Name
names. I can't. I don't keep track of people's names, but you could just go up on there. You could just go on any of those things and look up anything about Tartarian Empire or look up free energy from like Arvin said, antiquity technology, and you will see that, and the term ether will be the main denominating.
I got a better idea. Why don't you look it up and then document it and then show us at a later date?
Okay, I got you.
Or not, but what's the concern? Okay, so you're saying that people who are very speculative about antiquitech also talk about ether. That doesn't sound like a bad thing to me. I've got to be honest.
No, but no, I know that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, what is your view on it, how they merge ether, which I understand is something that we are still trying to find out, the technical, empirical proof that ether exists versus not the colloquial, common layman term to use for the air, which, things, not atmosphere, but the air that we breathe. Of course, electricity flows through it as well as magnetism and all that. I'm just saying, it always comes down to ether being the most common.
Okay, are you asking how I feel? It's akin to asking me, how do I feel about the Bigfoot people now saying that we've also got unicorns? How do you feel about it? I'm like, I don't care. How do I feel that the Tartarians are saying that we've got ether? Don't care.
Which ether? You know, there's so many different things that have been called ether, including a substance in chemistry. I mean, the electric ether, the light-based ether, right? The light-based ether is what we have this big issue with, and because we could prove it's absolutely nonsense. But people might
that's not what I
mix
read.
the electric ether in with
I don't.
that.
Aaron,
No,
no.
it's
To me,
Alwyn's
to
wrong.
me,
It's
to
what you
me,
see in the crystal ball
yeah.
when you're deciding why someone's done something. That's what's inside the crystal, the ether.
My understanding, Aaron, is that ether is the medium, and everything else flows through it, which we cannot see until it breaks or it diffracts or whatever you want to term it through the ether, and then it's exposed, whether it be electricity or whether it be light. I mean, the medium is not. The medium is the water, if you will, and the fish is the electricity, and the rocks is the light, and the coral
What's happened to
sea
D
is
Rose? Someone's hippified him. Someone, quick, get the crystals
Yeah,
off
but
him,
that's
quick.
the problem.
Has someone given you a braided bracelet?
Dude, I'm not
What's
saying
happening?
I believe in it. I'm just saying,
Bloody
I'm telling
hippie.
you, this is the,
open-toed
these,
sandals. Somebody check.
Yep, someone take the open-toe sandals off him
no,
quickly.
no, I'm not saying I don't go off asserting ether anyway. I'm just telling you the understanding that I know that they're saying it as, even though they're
Okay.
doing it the wrong way.
Well, I'm just
That's how they
saying,
make it.
lay off the bongs, put down your crack pipe. That's all I'm saying.
It's unified ether theorists, and it's all nonsense, right? They're all separate things that happen to be called ether, and they just all mix it into one thing. It's a giant reification clusterfuck.
Yes,
In defense of D Rose, he just had a seafood reaction. He had some tartar sauce, so the antecedent must be Tartarians.
Okay. How long did these? You can tell when 10th Man's coming out with a pun. He gets real. You don't hear from him. You don't hear from him for like maybe 2 minutes because he's writing it down or something, and then he comes back with the sheet of paper and comes and reads it off to us because they're just so accurate. But he takes a while getting it. You know when it's coming because he's silent before he puts it out there.
Okay, I'll tell you what my issue is with it. On a generalized level, right, there's a notion that we as flat earthers are ludicrous conspiracy theorists. So when you have things like Tartaria taking ownership of the nonsense that we fight against within flat earth, I actually see that as a positive thing. In other words, if someone's going to pour scorn on, instead of flat earthers, Tartarians, then so be it, because I'm not one of them. You know, if they've got great evidence, then they'd survive without me being concerned with their validity. However, that isn't the case. People do assume that flat earthers are stupid conspiracy theorists, and therefore they can be stereotyped in an example. I heard it only the other day when someone was decrying someone's archaeological debunking as being invalid and saying they haven't debunked the idea that ancient Rome didn't exist. And just like flat earthers, they don't listen to anything that's being put to them. You're like, okay, so the populace, the general public, have got a consensus formed opinion that we're stupid. And when things like this get associated with us, it annoys me. Now, without tooting our own horn too much, if everybody on the flat earth circuit was simply sticking to the validity of empiricism in science and demonstrating it with the flat earth, that is, with logical consistency, and pulling apart the claims of a globe based on logical fallacy, essentially what we do here, then there'd be no way for you to ridicule flat earthers. What are you going to ridicule? Our application of flat earth elevation angle measurements? Our application of the first law and second law of thermodynamics in terms of space? What is it that you're going to ridicule when we talk about the lack of scientific validity in the Cavendish parlour trick? There isn't anything to ridicule. Then you get to ether. Ugh, and I'm associated with tossers. And suddenly I can understand that that person's worldview about flat earthers has some justification and validity to it. And it makes me sad. There you go. That's how I feel about it, D-Rose.
And I'm glad you said that. And I for the record, I'm not a pro-Tartarian, pro-ether person. I just like that's my Baldwin. See, I do a little Baldwin sometimes, and I like to put something out there to be like, hey, I'm going to toss some bait out there. I want y'all to knock it out the ballpark, which you always do. And I appreciate that. So, but for the record, you can't blame me for any type of doubts or claims of us being nutcases. I ain't the one, not
No,
me.
I'm not that
Well,
nutcase, exactly. And, I don't want to have to defend being that nutcase because there's a generalized consensus opinion that flat earthers are nutcases when you can easily come across, what was it we were saying at the beginning of this video in the pre-show about somehow we're going to be castigated from flat earth by ether believers? Was that what I heard? Oh, really? I see. Well, what they're essentially saying is they're going to detach us from their nonsense because they want it to be kept with flat earth, and what we say not. Well, it doesn't make any difference. We're not attached at the hip to any of these people that say what we're going to be. It's like when we critique the guy in Flat Earth 24/7 Discord. He's saying, I'm not going to give Paul your Flat Earth badge. Why not? Because you don't know the globe Earth model well enough. Even though he's responded, I don't need to. I know why it fails. I know why it begs the question. I know all the fallacies that would mean I don't need to learn the model intricacies. He put that to the guy and he's like, I'm still not going to give you flat earth. That's how he said it. I'm not going to give you flat earth. Well, by the same token...
Hold on a second. What did you say? What was going on in the pre-show?
Brian
The
was
pre-show
discussing...
was something happening with Flatsoid show with Witsit there saying he's going to, allegedly, I haven't heard it, say that they're going to excommunicate us.
Witsit? He respawned.
I don't know, and I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah,
the
he
point
was
is
on
that the general...
that's where that excommunication thing came on the main chat. I saw that word. Okay.
Sure, but I'm in the middle of associating it to this point, which is to say that if we are, quote unquote, excommunicated from something that we speak educatedly on, does it matter? Well, it does. Because in the same vein as I point out that our opponents have searches directed their way, flat earthers who have gained prevalence in this particular corner of the internet also talk a lot of shite, don't they? Well, are we the ones talking about natural science, natural law, fallacies, logical consistencies? Are we at the top of the charts? No. Are the ones telling us that we will be excommunicated simply because they have more subscribers? The ones talking about ether, the ones that would give us a bad rap as flat earthers and conspiracy theorists? Yes, they are. Now, I'm not saying that correlation is essentially set in stone, but there's a correlation there nonetheless, isn't there? The nonsense spouting flat earthers get promoted better and have become more popular than us. Maybe people just like nonsensical conspiracy theorists versus people offering empiricism and logical consistency. That's just how it seems. I'm just saying.
We're boring.
Yeah, you could say, sorry, what? On the talk.
He said we're boring.
Yeah. Well, you could say, yeah, the human beings in general tend to want to have some kind of fantasy. Because the fantastical types, whether it be heliocentric or flat earthers, are doing better than those who are trying to point, which is us, trying to point out stark reality. We could even include Bev and them into that, because at least they try to point out some kind of reality. They're not growing huge in numbers. So it's like, so it seems to be that the human beings in general keep running towards the nonsense. Because maybe it's down to their indoctrination, their heliocentric indoctrination, but they keep running towards the nonsense as opposed to embracing the real as much as possible.
Yeah, it's which queue to get into, the fantastical lie queue or the awful truth queue. Yeah, there's going to be a queue out the door for the lie.
That was a good point we made too, because if you're trying to get,
I wanted some specificity. Are you saying Shitsit respawned?
Yeah, I'll give you the rundown.
He's been reborn as the new Pope of Ether.
Witsit and some guy, I don't know the guy. He's well known supposedly, but I don't know. I know his name, but I don't know him. Had a debate against two ballers recently, and supposedly it was really bad. And it was so bad, supposedly, Flatside started covering it last night and attacking it, right? I think it was last night, and attacking the debate. And he was attacking Witsit within it. And Witsit came into his live chat and Flatside was asking him questions, and there was to and fro going on between him and Whitsitt. And Flatside said, "Come in." And eventually Whitsitt did come in, and him and Flatside went at it. And Whitsitt just behaved ridiculous. So he's claimed at one point, he claimed we were all pseudoscience, and that he was going to, him and the people he hang in with were going to excommunicate us from the flat earth. He mostly just said, Flatside, you don't understand. And he's making claims now that are different from the claims he used to make. I don't know what's going on. You'd have to listen to it.
Who the fuck is he? Is he on the other side like his uncle or uncle-in-law Tyson?
Sorry,
Neil deGrasse?
whoa. Hold on. Why the outrage? Do you think that Whitsitt
Because
has some
I'm saying, who is he to say he's going to excommunicate us from all flat earth? Like he's the king or the emperor of flat earth. Just like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, if you're going to talk about the earth, you got to go through me. That's what
He's
it's
the new
like.
pope. I told you, he's the new pope. He's just been crowned.
I mean, if these people want to self-appoint themselves as the Pope of Flat Earth, then feel free. I don't care. And what's he saying? He's going to excommunicate. Did he specifically say us? Who was he referring to, or was he just talking to?
All ye. Yeah, he was bringing up. He brought up you several times, Nathan, and QE once or twice as well. Just basically us as a whole. Yeah.
Let's break down the terminology. Excommunicate. What does that mean exactly? They won't communicate with me anymore.
Not talk to.
Right.
Not talk to.
Okay. No worries. They don't anyway, do they? Sorry. Do I have some sort of personal line with Whitsitt? Is he my manager? Does he pay me? No, none of the above. Oh, right. You're going to not talk to me when you don't talk to me? I don't care. Do whatever you like, Whitsitt. But you are obviously concerned about your communication with me, aren't you? And talking about whether or not I'll be granted your permission to have communication. Yeah, I don't have it and I don't care about it. But you do. And you're talking about whether or not you're going to relinquish your connection to me. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Psychologically, you're concerned about me, not the other way around. Obviously. Me, I don't care. Do what you like, Whitsitt. What's that, excommunication? Oh, no! Oh, no! Paula, help! No, I couldn't give two fucks.
No, Nathan. Nathan, it's worse.
And my wife came
than
running in.
that.
My wife's actually just sprinted in, going, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" No, nothing's on fire, and it's okay.
Tell us,
Nathan,
the awful
Nathan,
truth of what's happened.
And I won't come and help.
I'm not having a heart attack. I wouldn't be screaming "Help me" if I was having a heart attack. I'd probably be whimpering it.
Oh my gosh.
It's worse than that,
so
Paula.
basically,
He's been excommunicated.
Yeah, it's worse than that because what Whitsitt is saying, if he said those things that exact way, is that he and his crew represent the official throne of flat Earth, and we are excommunicated from that throne, and like we ever agreed with them.
That delusional.
And that was merely because Flatsoid.
You did cut him off last time, actually, QE. Go ahead, D-Rose.
I did. I came off last time because I didn't want to hear you cuss me out. But check it out. Merely because Flatzoid was doing a review on a video consisting of shits his pants against a baller, right? So he was saying the do's and don'ts, and this is why this guy did this, and then he apparently shits his pants, heard it, and then got on thing, and then came in and entered, and then went after Flatzoid for constructively criticizing.
Yeah, thanks for the recoup. Brian already said that.
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't know that. No, I'm clarifying for myself because I sometimes I walk away from my phone and I can hear your voices, but I can't hear the details. But I catch it, the middle part or the ending of it. I just want to make sure that that's why I'm trying to legitimize why Shitsit did that. To go after Flatsoid, like what was the beef? What was what antagonized him? Okay, so now I got.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's two fouls.
No offense. Yeah,
that's two
it doesn't
fouls.
matter. It's not relevant. What is relevant is until we're being discussed. In this case, we have specifically, or I have, according to Brian, specifically been mentioned, and therefore it's all of ye. Quote Brian. Well, fine. Okay, we'll just take that as read. Brian's trustworthy, and he's referring to us being excommunicated. My point is, number one, okay, fine, but we aren't actually concerned with Whitsitt. we are now discussing an aspect of the debate had between him and Flatsoids. That's what we do here. But we aren't concerned proactively with what Witsit is doing or whether or not we'll be communicating with him. You know, things like that aren't of primary concern to us. But my point, and I tried to get it in earlier, was that it is of primary concern to him. In other words, how we'll be represented by them, who are deeply concerned with how we should be represented by them. All right, just stop representing me, Witsit. Yeah? Now, because your representation up until now does nothing but have detriment towards me when you claim I'm a pseudoscientist or whatever it is you're claiming that's presumably detrimental and negative towards me. Yeah? Just stop doing that. Yeah? You want to excommunicate me? Yeah, do that. But that would mean you have to stop talking about me, including slagging me off for whatever reason, because I wasn't on whatever his name, Flatsoid's show. But there I am, coming out of your mouth. Now, obviously, we're discussing you being on that show and Ether. It's on topic. And your name is obviously going to come up to it because you're being discussed in that subject matter. But what we aren't doing is saying, are we going to ridicule this group of people from here on in so that people don't subscribe to them? No, definitely not. We'll describe how nonsensical Ether is and pull apart its lack of scientific validity. That's what we do. Yeah? But we won't make it personal against some individual that we've decided to excommunicate because we're not assholes. But that's what you do because you're an asshole. Yeah? What you're actually saying is, we'll make it hard for you in this community unless you kowtow to whatever bullshit I want you to kowtow to. No, fuck you, Witsit. Just get your mouth, stop flapping it about me or us. Simple. That's all you got to do. Not threaten us with excommunication, because what that actually means is you'll start shit stirring about us, slagging us off. Yeah, go fuck yourself, you pathetic little girl. Yeah? If you can't keep my name out of your mouth, that's sad. It means you are living rent-free. I am living rent-free in your head. Because you're concerned about the level of communication between us. This isn't of concern to me, as I made perfectly clear when my wife came running in, when I over-dramatically said, oh no. Yeah, I'm not concerned with how well you're doing. But you are. Yeah, presumably you, like YouTube, want to suppress us. For whatever reason. Oh, it's because we disagree with stuff that hasn't got scientific validity and makes us look stupid in the mind's eye of the public. Makes us look like conspiracy theorists and idiots with no evidence to back our fantasies that we spout to our audiences. That's on topic. Me criticising things that you guys do. Yeah? Not saying, oh, I'm going to make my community not want to subscribe to Witsit. No, I'll make my community understand there's no scientific validity for Ether. There's a very distinct difference. Communication doesn't come into it. My communication with you doesn't come into it. Our relationship with Globebusters doesn't come into it. Yeah? Just the validity of the claims that are being offered. That's it. But for you, it's more than that because it's about how many subscribers you've got, isn't it? It's not about the validity of Ether. It's about whether or not we'll kowtow to what you tell us. Fuck you. You've got no idea what you talk about and we'll pull it apart every time you spout it. What I won't do is tell my audience, don't subscribe to Witsit, because I don't care what they do in that regard. If they want to subscribe to you because they want a bit of fantasy, good for them. Until you start slagging us off. Then that's a big problem. Yeah, pull us apart on our pseudoscience if you say we've got it. Show how it's pseudoscience. Like we show Ether's got no scientific validity by simply asking for it.
Yeah, within the debate, he claimed to have the use of scientific method, or within the debate he had that Flatside was pulling apart. He basically claimed science within that debate, and then he turned around last night and accused us of being pseudoscientists or having been pseudoscience. You know, he's just saying anything because I don't know what's going on in his head, but you're definitely in his head, and QE is too, but you're definitely in his head. The first thing he started attacking Flatside on was how small his show was and how many subscribers or viewers, live viewers he has, this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? How is that an argument on anything, you know? Who cares if he has one subscriber or no viewers?
It's a appeal to consensus, and by that standard, Simon Dan's correct.
Yeah.
You know, sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off, but the pseudoscience thing is what bothers me, because I don't think anybody here has made a scientific claim. The only thing we do claim is the validity of the method. And we hold to that and the logic that gives you the method. I don't see where that comes from, calling us
No, that's not
pseudoscientists.
right. Sorry, I've got to correct you. So this originated with a debunking of the notion of the incoherent dielectric acceleration, giving you a down bias by showing with scientific validity that you can represent a disequilibrium by changing the density of a medium. So the vector induced by changing the density of the medium is the natural phenomena being described if you want to make a claim that there's a bias in any direction. Well, the phenomena you observe debunks that straight off the bat, because the observed phenomena is that some things go up, some things remain neutral, some things go down. Well, you're trying to figure out the cause of that effect, and Anthony did. He offered up a valid hypothesis with a null, varied his independent variable, and validated the alternative. That's science. That's where they step in.
Yeah.
Because suddenly you've got an
But they
invalidation
don't-
of the null. And they can't get their heads around it. So unfortunately for them, that's why they need to tar us with pseudoscience. Because, like has just been pointed out, which is correct, we don't necessarily use science to make up bullshit claims as a magic trick, also employed by our opponents on the globe side, like Tyson, where they steal valor from science, claim they've got it, when they're describing incoherent dielectric acceleration. They'll go on all day about how they've got science with Michelson-Morley. Okay? If you're claiming science, you better back your science with science. Well, Anthony took it upon himself to do that and invalidate what they stated by proving the cause of the effect that they're describing and assuming with a single downward bias, which there isn't. So, unfortunately not, and yes, at the same time you are correct, because we don't typically use it to make claims. We use it to debunk them, and that is also an example, but it's using a scientific experiment to debunk them in that instance. So, unfortunately, yeah, we have actually used a scientific experiment in that context, John.
Well, just
Right, but we
going.
don't have to. But we don't have to.
No, you're
Well,
right,
like
we
you
didn't
said,
have to.
Anthony took it upon himself to do it, but it's not behooving upon us to prove their claims.
That's correct.
It's not
You are
proof upon us.
no. Just kudos. Yeah, it's not like you're trying to wiggle out of it, but you have, which is to say that it's behooven is a great word. It's not upon us to do this. Anthony did not need to do that. Upon asking for the scientific validation of gravity, it is upon the person claiming it to present their evidence, and also for ether. You want to claim that there's any sort of science in any shape or form for ether, it's incumbent on you to produce it, not for us to disprove it. Yes, John.
So, which John? Okay, so let me get this straight. Let's big picture this. So what's it? And Jaren and all the globe dumpsters get their friggin' pseudo intellectual guts ripped out over like a 4-week period 6 months ago. Then we don't hear from them, and now all of a sudden you got Shitsit coming out here, and what's he gonna do to us? What had they regrouped after the
That's not
respawn? They
that's not
regrouped?
the order of events. No. He has reacted to Flat Sorted, so he can't level that at Witsit's door. He's gone and watched Flat Sorted, and then there he is being slagged off, and he's gone and defended himself. So he's reacting to Flat Sorted poking the bear proactively. Just to get that clear.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but no, not really, because Witsit is still out there pushing the same nonsense that was shown that he couldn't prove by us.
Careful with your standards.
He's still out there doing that.
Stop. Got to be so careful. And more power to him. He can do what the hell he likes. I don't care. Is my attitude towards that. Live and let live. Yeah, because I don't care. I'm not concerned with his communication and whether or not we should say no, he's not allowed to be associated with Flat Earth because he's still out on the circuit after we told him. No, reactively if he comes here, fine. Yeah, if he wants to, proactively if he wants to come here and make his claims, which he's done, then that's absolutely fine. We'll react to them and take them apart at face value. But if he then chooses, same as Rumpus, to continue, or Ruhif, to continue on the circuit, peddling his nonsense, well, you're going to endure the sleepless nights, not me. And I'm not your boss. I'm not Witsit's boss. I can't excommunicate him because I'm not in charge of him. That works both ways, Dumbo. If you're listening, sorry.
I didn't say that.
Yeah,
That's
but
not
I'm
what I
saying be
said.
careful.
Yeah, but I am. I don't have to be careful if I just say the facts, which I'm doing. The facts are that the claims that they were making, they were shown to not be able to prove them by us, without a doubt. They couldn't even define a lot of the terms they were using. So, but they didn't stop pushing it. So, if they didn't stop pushing it, and Flatside reacts to them not stopping pushing it, then I don't see how. It's like the only reason that the reaction happened is because of the type of stuff that's been pushed.
I know. Okay, let me
Bill,
try. And,
do you know what I
there's
mean?
always going to be a good Godfather example, isn't there? There's a point where the main Godfather, not the Al Pacino Godfather, the Marlon Brando Godfather, is around a table with all of his dons and his competitors, right? People of the families that oppose him, and there's a feud going on because his son's been killed, and he wants to bring an end to this feud. The problem is that they want to become drug dealers, and he doesn't want any part of it. And at the end, he says, "So long as your affairs don't conflict with mine," right? Now, I've said I am disappointed that we get tarred with the brush of stupidity and conspiracy theorist, and some of that blame can lay at the door of Whitsit in this example, and I'm not going to deny that. However, so long as he's not proactively in our face telling us this stuff, like Bigfoot followers aren't in our face, or ghost believers aren't in our face telling us that flat Earth's wrong because ghosts exist, right? Then live and let live. Let him do he can do whatever he likes. I can't object to that. Now, we'll discuss it when he goes on Flatsoid's show. We'll react to it and respond to it and pull it apart in the same way we always would, because it's a topic to be discussed, and that's what we do here. But as for proactively going after him, because, as you put it, he's out on the circuit still punting this stuff, so what? More power to him. I don't care. Because it's not a concern. It's not beyond, like I say, the fact that we're considered idiots, and that doesn't help. But beyond that, more power to you. It's do what you like. You want to keep telling people ether's true, creating that fantasy forum. We've shown you how you're wrong. Take it or leave it. That's it, as far as I'm concerned.
Nathan, are you aware that Paul has posted that video in Master D for you to review instead of just talking about? Because I haven't heard it. You haven't heard it. We're just going by what's said.
I don't want to.
It's in Master D.
We've got the general gist, haven't we? Do we need to hear it? I said the same in the pre-show.
Well, you want to be hearing Whitsit say things directly if you're going to say things about what he said that we haven't heard.
I really don't. I think Brian's paraphrasing of what he said and the sentiment is enough. And when you get into actually doing responses on this stuff, as much as we're handbags at dawn in the after show, that's fine because it's on topic, admittedly politically on topic, rather than subject matter specific to Earth curve or physical geometry in any shape or form. You know, it's still ether, and how it crosses paths with flat Earth in this instance, because their ether belief has led them to be under the misapprehension that they have some communication to sever with us. Well, they don't, but, you know, I'm not going to impose any sort of connection to have severance on my part by saying, "Oh, are you still out on the circuit doing that? I'm going to put stop to that." Now, that's their attitude that I'm saying is unreasonable.
Now, the reason they want to use the word excommunicate is because they feel they run the flat Earth, quote unquote, community. They're in charge. This is the ego to a level I've not seen publicly stated or observed by anyone who says, "I'm going to excommunicate you from this topic." It's
I'm
like,
sorry, have you not encountered Eric Dubay? Is he not someone you've come across?
You're asking me?
Yeah, have you never encountered Eric Dubay in his general attitude?
Yeah, I remember early on Eric Dubay was on the scene. Yeah, I've seen his videos.
Right, generally speaking, Eric thinks he's the king of flat Earth.
Okay, well, the same thing goes for him then. But I've never heard Eric Dubay say, "I'm going to excommunicate you."
Sorry, I've just got to stop choking. Okay, right. He uses his IFAs forum for that. So he entices you into the IFAs forum so that you can be excommunicated from it. I mean, I've never joined, but I've heard all the stories.
All right. I don't know anything about that. Whatever. If he wants to be another one that does it, let him do it. But the point is, who owns the flat Earth community? What the heck does this guy think he is?
It's a reification fallacy. flat Earth is a description of an aspect of the world that we're standing on. Community? What? The community of the ground that we're standing on. This is a, what's the word? QE, where are you? There's a word for this. Where you sandwich two nonsensical things together.
Inflation.
A shit slub? A shit slub?
Yeah, just a melting pot of crap. But anyway, the point is that when people say flat Earth community, like for me to go out into the world and say that I'm a flat earther is only a recognition that I understand the nature of the ground that we're standing on. And it doesn't automatically mean I'm part of a community. Now, to make it a community would be to mean that you've got some aspect of control over the community you have created. But that's all you've done, created a community so you can exercise your control over it. Well, in the case of the controlled opposition, we all spend all day, every day, talking about how that's the purpose of what they're doing with things like the Flat Earth Society. If you're going to have an opposition, you might as well control it and lead it. Yeah? Pretty basic stuff. Now, when that dilutes down to just somebody that recognises that you can have a community to lead, and you're under the misapprehension that your aspect of reality, that's flat Earth, is somehow a community because lots of people have recognised that aspect of the Earth, then you are mistaken. You've reified an aspect of the Earth into a community. No, just the recognition of aspects of Earth doesn't put you into any community automatically. But if you can create a, I don't know, IFA's website or a Flat Earth Society and get people to be card-carrying members of it, you can lay down the rules that would say that you're not allowed to partake in the dissemination of the information, for example. I mean, answer me this. What power, beyond his enormous swell of YouTube subscribers, I mean, notwithstanding the absolutely astronomical numbers that they have over on this side of the fence that we're discussing, what power do they wield over us precisely, pray tell?
Jack nothing.
Look, it's no different than two family members on the opposite side of the political spectrum. So one's a Democrat, one's a Republican. Let me just use those two. Can one of them say, you're no longer part of my family because of that? Can one of them say, you're no longer a human being because you're on that side? It's so stupid.
It goes back to schisms, sects, and factions. It don't matter whether it is vegans versus herbivores, herbivores versus carnivores, flat earth versus globers, red versus blue, Crips versus Bloods, Republicans versus Democrats. Now we got a flat earth community of anything's possible versus the scientific methodology dependent, realistic, let's stick to the facts, stop speculating and being conceptual. Let's talk about some tangible evidence, flat earth. So we're the outcasts because once again, when it comes down to truth, what is always outcast? The truth, because it makes people uncomfortable, it hurts sometimes, and it takes away from people's fantastical, abstract desires to be able to do things and be things that they know damn well they're incapable of being. And when you shit on that, you become their enemy.
Yeah, and I'll say this at the end of that excellent little summary. Yeah, the things that you want to be are gods flying around in space. People who have a misapprehension of the sky vacuum and the men that they say are in it want to be those men. They want to fly in space. It's pathetic. You all want to be Superman, and that's all they're playing on. It's sad. But with that, I'll say another massive, enormous thank you to Matrix, Discord, and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hitting the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
what a day! What a lovely day!
Just a quick shout out to LVA Paul. I wanted to say I'm so made up. 1.35 volts, 5,000 mega transfers per second, no crashes, no errors, 3.5 hours of streaming with games and Matrix and everything running absolutely perfectly. I am absolutely made up that this show has been successful. So shout out to you, Paul. Thank you very much for all of your support.